multitasking now. When you're talking about redlining, it's not just prohibiting Black people from moving into suburbias. It's actually about also building freeways through someone's neighborhood and displacing them. Also, when you're building these highways and freeways and stuff, you're blocking them from other resources. So you're shutting people out in a said community to from resources, and they don't have access to it, and you're not putting the said resources in that particular community so that community can flourish. So there were no type of recourse for anything. So when you have these different policies, especially on a state level in multiple states, then you see the increase of poverty, the abstraction of jobs being taken away from the United States, going overseas. So when all of Americans feel high unemployment, when you look at the 80s where a lot of factory jobs were shutting down and going overseas or whatever, 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 but Black people are already at a disadvantage. So more poverty, higher the crime, less homeowners, which means less generational wealth or any type of wealth, drugs. Now you introducing drugs into the community, and we all see how that ended up. But that was even specific to bring the drugs specifically in Black communities to destroy it even more. So the progress that was kind of creeping up there after 1965, because there was some progress leaning towards progress, was totally cut off and depleted in 85, going into the late 80s and so forth. And so now, okay, 2025, it is a different type of environment, but we're still starting at square one. So when you talk about systemic racism, it is a real thing. White supremacy is a real thing. And let me just add this, and then I'm gonna be quiet. White people, and I'm gonna actually do a show on this. White people actually are victims or have been victims at a low percentage, but they have been victims of white supremacy. So white supremacy a lot of times is not just by the hands of white Americans, it is something global. But white people in America in certain incidents like the opioid crisis have been victims under the thumb of white supremacy, but not as much as Black people. So
But
yeah.
you didn't find anything compelling about some of the Black conservatives when they brought up the cultural issue, that a lot of the issues that you just went over are related to the culture and the lack of emphasis on education, on family, on issues that are causing, at least what a lot of sociologists would term causing a lot of the problems that you just enumerated. I mean, there are other groups that come over here that are also dirt poor, and they don't have the same rates of violent crime and violence and murders in their community. And so if you try to compare the two of them, how come they, like, let's say Indians, right? From India, when they come over, a lot of them come over are dirt poor, and they are able to work their way up, and they're able to become highly educated, and they place an emphasis and a value on being with the family, and doing things differently and holding themselves differently. And I don't want to paint everybody with a broad brush and say everybody's like
Yeah,
this,
because
but
that's not even true with the Indians. Because the Indians that come over here are not poor. They were not considered poor from where they came from India. Because that's how they even got a chance to come over here because they could afford to. Now you come over here, our money, our dollar value here is much higher than there. So if they were considered upper middle class in India, they will be considered on the borderline of poverty here in America. But they were part of the upper class when you talk about the Hindus or what have you. And on top of that, our government, when you come here legally, when you talk about these special groups, the Indians and the Asians and even some Black African immigrants, they, particularly the Indians, they get resources, state level, city level, municipalities, and federal, to open up a business, to get work permits, to get education, all the things that these illegals were getting. People prior to that were coming here legally, they got an economic uplift from public policies. So it's no coincidence that you see majority of Indians owning Dunkin' Donuts. It's no coincidence that you see a lot of Indians owning motels throughout this nation, because they were allotted policies and resources and funding for their group to do so. And that's the same for other groups. And you have a country that does trade with the United States as well. So you have a whole country with some type of backing, even though you want to come here because you want that American dollar value.
Right,
Your money goes far and you accumulate more wealth.
but we do see a lot of Indians that also grow up in the hood and they go into STEM. They go into the what is the sciences, technology, engineering, and mathematics, right? And then they excel at those.
What Indians, East Indians, do you know, Peter, that hang out in the hood or grow up in the
I
hood?
know a lot in Jersey City. If you go to Jersey City and Newark, there's a whole.
East Indians, they grow up in the hood, or they just have a business
No, they
in the
no. I
hood?
know
Like, 'cause,
they
like
grow.
they don't live in the
No,
hood
they
where I
do.
stay
They
at.
do. They grow up in Jersey City and
I
Newark.
don't know. No East Indians live in the actual hood.
Well, you should come over to New Jersey and I could take you through the wards and you could check it out. There's a large Indian population in Jersey City, and a lot of them
It's
go.
it's not the same. It's not the same, Peter. Come on,
It
bro.
is the same.
Don't do that.
How are you having a group that comes from exactly the same socioeconomic circumstances, but one group is able to excel and has access to the same exact. They go to public schools. They have access to the same scholarship opportunities. They have access to the after school clubs. They could do all the things that everybody else can do and get into. And the one group is able to get a scholarship to Stevens Institute in Hoboken or NJIT in Newark or the College of New Jersey, and they're able to excel and get themselves out of the lot in life being in the hood. And another.
I mean, for every one of them that's over here, there's been tens, thousands of successful black people that have been to college and excel, but maybe still don't get the opportunities that they get on a corporate level per se.
But why
So
aren't there why aren't there like why isn't there a faction of like the Indian Bloods, right? Like why aren't there Indian Bloods or Piru Bloods, Piru
I
Indians?
mean, they got their little factions or whatever gangs they got. You just ain't lived over there.
In Jersey City, they have Indian gang members that run blocks.
No, I'm talking about where they're really from, their lineage. Like, see, that's what you like. You can't compare up against the Black American Negro story and historically in America and throw that up against. No, bro.
I mean,
Like, stop doing it.
Indy, I'm
Like,
comparing
seriously.
apples to
Like, you
apples. I'm saying
you don't
both.
you don't get it because you talking in your Italian or whiteness or whatever it is you call it. But don't do that, bro. Like
How
we
is
So
didn't
let me let
invent,
me let me
like
interject
we
something
didn't
real
make a
quick.
lot of inventions in America for the world. Like,
but
what did
even
the
but so
Indians
but
invent
you're
more
making
than
my
black people
argument
Right.
for
invent?
me. You're making my
Please tell
argument.
me.
You're making my argument.
Name the inventions that Indians
You're
made,
making
East Indians
you're
made,
making my argument for me by
versus
saying that
black Negro
other blacks have
Negro
had these
American
inventions
inventions.
and done
Name
so
them.
many great things, but why is it still that so many of the community are committing so many murders and the rate of violent crime is so high?
You
Why?
you are not worried about black on black murder
Why don't
like
you
that, Peter.
answer the
You are not.
question instead of trying to
You
go
are
do an
not
Let
that
ad
me so
hominem
concerned
let
with
me
attack
that.
so let
and
me
disingenuously
one second,
change the
guys. One second.
topic?
Wait, 1 second, 1 second, because I do see the judge. Because and the problem that I have with the Jubilee with the conservatives and a lot of other people, they're focusing. First of all, black culture is not trash. That was another lie. Second of all, they were saying, but black people, all the negatives. Every group of people have negatives. So why is it that black people are the only ones highlighted? So let's just say majority of homicides are committed by black people, but the majority of rapes will be committed by white people. The majority of drug trafficking could be committed by white people. So every group has their niche.
DUIs are 80% white people, over 80%.
Can I say
Huh?
one thing?
Sure.
I didn't hear what you say. I'm trying to.
Yeah,
I'm only.
Lowski said that DUIs are 80% white people, and then Paid wanted to had to hop in. Yeah, you guys can hop in.
So again, so yeah, so Judge, I sent you the co-host link. So again, The problem that I have is the talking point of, well, black on black crime. You cannot talk about black on black crime unless you are talking about white on white, Asian on Asian crime. You got to talk about the other groups because every group has their fucking issue, but everybody making it seem like we're the only ones with the only goddamn issues. So
Yeah, but
that is
Dana,
where that is where they're wrong. So if you're a black person and
Well,
you want to, well, let me just say this: if you're a black person and you're concerned about the crime where you live at, which you should be, okay, you could say black on black. This you could say this is the problem, but if you are not saying this is what we need to do and you're actively doing it, see all those people up there complaining about black on black crime, they're not doing shit to
but
well,
Dana,
help
it's
prevent it.
because it's being felt acutely, right? You have violent criminality, you have carjackings, murders, muggings, robberies. Any group that does that, of course, there are other groups that have their own niche of crime. Other ones that are that crime is being being acutely felt, and is employing violence against innocent people that are just trying to live, are going to
That's
be cracked
every
down.
single group, Peter.
well,
And see,
if
you're
I
not
might
gonna you're
make
not
an
gonna create this
interjection.
narrative that black people are the only ones that are violent. And
Who's
Well,
running the
hold on,
streets in
hold on,
DC?
see, that's
Who
that's
runs
hold
the
on.
that's the
streets?
ease. That's the ease you white people. Y'all see, y'all want
Um,
your ego eased and
If
stroked.
I
You
could
want to
say
feel
one thing,
better. That's why you have Trump talking about something. Well, we want slavery out of Smithsonian because we don't want to talk about badly. Well, it was badly. I
But
don't.
he didn't even
This is
say
the
that.
thing. If he wants to put up the Confederate statues, I don't have a problem with that. I want it all to be shown so that it could never be forgotten. But
But
again,
but
when people want to focus on black crime and you're supposed to be this black conservative, this is why I say those conservatives up there, they were not intelligent enough to even combat Amanda Seals. They could have to a certain degree combat her, but the reason why they were not combat because they weren't the right black conservatives. And I say this to black conservatives of yesteryears, the ones that were building corporations, they were building infrastructures, employing black people, the high professionals. They're not those. So these black conservatives talking these so-called with I don't even want to say Republican talking points, but it's just those type of talking points. That's all it is. They're not well read. They haven't done any type of research, and they're middle class. So the
might
fuck
I
they're
interject
not
something?
making money like that.
Yeah,
Might
they
I
were weak.
interject
Amanda
something?
Seals roasted their ass for
Might
real.
And
I
I'm like, if you
interject
couldn't
something?
handle, and that's why people want to see her come back, Candace Owens, because whether people agree with Candace Owens or not, or agree with Amanda Seals or not, they're both well-read
Okay.
individuals. Not
Might
th-
I
not those
interject
20s.
something?
Well,
Might I
Judge, you,
interject
honey, you
something?
were late to your own
I know, but I
space.
know, but let me interject something. I'm sitting here in the parking lot of a large grocery store, and I'm watching black people get in groups to walk jointly to their cars because they're scared of getting ripped off. And the conversation is not about white people robbing them, shooting them, carjacking them. It's about their own people doing it. Now, that's bad enough when the people that are complaining right now about why are black folk always the face of violence and criminality, when black folk make themselves in their own minds the face of it because they have to deal with it. There is one interesting difference that distinguishes this whole mess that I think contributes
What?
badly to the conception. And it's this: our elected officials, our appointed officials, are actually protesting the process of restoring public order. Nobody else in the world does that. The Chinese, the Japanese, the Russians, the Ukrainians, the English, the French, they all rejoice in and promote public order. But our officials are talking about it's racist because somebody says follow the law. Somehow or another, everybody else in the world approves of such justice that they can acquire under their systems. But we claim that we don't want justice because it is discriminatory, because black criminality, which is lionized in song, dance, movies, television, in ideation, that somehow or another gets thwarted. And we seem to be the only people on the planet Earth that actually glorify this dysfunction. I don't get it. And
Who we
so
learn that
everybody
from?
else listens to it. No, but nobody else does it. There are Jesse Jameses and stuff like that. But there's always some Robin Hood factor, robbing from the rich, giving to the poor. There are people that love the devil out of Bonnie and Clyde, but that's because so many people got ripped off by banks back in the Depression. It was sort of a cheerleading thing. But right now, we sit here and I'm looking at, I just left a Lowe's looking for some hardware, and before that, I went to a Home Depot. And last year, all this stuff was out in the open, and now it's locked behind gates. What happened? You have to get somebody to open it because people have been stuffing carts and running out and loading up pickups, and everybody's afraid to bust them because they get called racist for doing it. What is that? Why do we have this crazy ideation that wrongdoing, even when we are the primary victims, is somehow or another something to be approved of? I don't get it.
And Judge, it's by design, right? It's by
So
design. A
black,
lot of
Oh,
these
wait, hold
black
on one
people
Democratic.
second,
doing all the
everybody.
stealing.
Hold on,
The
everybody,
black
hold
people
on.
doing
Wait,
all the.
hold on, Andy, hold on,
No, we
hold
aren't
on.
doing all the crime. I
Yeah,
didn't say that. I
hold
just
on.
said that's the difference. Nobody else on this planet seeks to justify lawlessness but us. See, listen to what people are saying. I
What?
have listened to some right now on this space. Some people are trying to defend criminality and get upset when somebody's saying it will not
Uh,
be tolerated. Now, if you
And Judge,
have black
Wait,
folk running
what are you
places
talking
like
about? What
Memphis,
space? What space?
right now, the one
his
we're on right
space
now,
No,
here.
we're
this
not. No
one.
one, no one is
Well,
Can I
not
say
I've
defending.
been
something?
listening to it.
Wait,
I've
hold on.
been listening
Everybody
to it.
just stay muted. Thank you.
I've been listening to it. Now,
No, you
we
just
have,
got here. You haven't been
no,
listening
I
to it.
know, but I heard some of it
You heard
earlier.
30
I
seconds when
heard
you
some of
popped
it.
in.
Okay, yeah, but hold on. Here's what I'm saying. Right now, people are objecting to the state sending in law enforcement to restore order. The police department can't do it. The mayor is totally incompetent. The chief, we call her Do Nothing Davis. The mayor, his nickname is Mayor Urkel Young, after the crazy looking comedy character. We have uh, the clown council instead of the city council because everybody is saying, what the devil's going on? Clubs are closing down. There are no nightclubs for black folk to go to because they've all closed due to crime. Grocery stores have closed down. We had 11 mainstream supermarkets closed down. We've lost 17 or 18 major restaurants just in the last 6 months because of crime. We've got this glorification where people are out here saying we can't have law and order because it's racist and it's white supremacy. Well, hell, the police department's 75% black. The chief is a black female. The sheriff is a black male. 75% of the deputies are black. 60% of the criminal court judges are black and female. And we have got 75% of the jury pool is black, but somehow or another that's supposed to be racist.
All right,
Now,
one
what in
second.
the world is wrong with us?
1 second. 1 second, because you're talking about Memphis, so y'all need to figure
I'm
that out
talking
in
about
Memphis.
Washington,
Because
D.C. I was
everything,
in
what
D.C.
that one?
this
No,
year.
Judge. Let me talk now, because you are talking about Memphis when you're saying clubs are shut down and
Yes,
businesses. That's
yes.
Memphis.
And
Where I live
I
at,
was
I'm
in
talking. Let me
Washington.
talk,
Okay, hold on.
please.
Let me
Stop.
add one
No,
further
let
point.
me. You
I'm ducking
you
out of this one,
spoke.
and I'll just listen. I have one other point on this. I was just in Washington, D.C. I was born in D.C. I lived in D.C.
No, you did
Worked
not. Oh,
there.
yes, you did
I
as an
did.
adult.
Yeah, as an adult, I lived there. Now, I'm just there for a function in February, and I never have been any place where in 2 days I saw two consecutive strong arm robberies on the street. The clubs that used to be black are now rainbow. Everything that used to be a black neighborhood that made DC Chocolate City has now been gentrified and turned into a rainbow coalition thing. I have never seen such an embarrassing situation in my life. The DC is totally out of control. And people are upset because somebody's talking about, well, hell, black folk, you're not the only ones that come through the nation's capital. You know, the Russians, Chinese, Japanese, Africans, everybody, South Americans come through here to conduct business with the largest, the most powerful nation on the planet. So you don't own it. It doesn't belong to you, but you have had an opportunity to run it. You had some home rule and you failed because it's completely out of control. And for me to just be riding around with somebody and witness personally this year 2 strong arm robberies on the streets of Washington, D.C. is ridiculous.
Well, I don't think you witnessed that. I think you're
I
exaggerating.
witnessed it. Don't call me a liar.
I didn't call you a lie. I said you're
I
exaggerating.
witnessed it.
Because
I
you was
saw this.
because when you
I
were
know
in
what a robbery
DC,
looks like.
when you were in DC for that White House Black History Month, you went to a club afterwards.
I went to a club, but I
Right.
drove around the
So,
bloody doggone
and
place.
not once when I spoke to you, you mentioned about you that you
Well,
saw
you,
this
baby,
because you weren't
weren't
in those
I
neighborhoods.
was in those neighborhoods.
No, you
The
weren't.
whole place is a
Your
mess.
honey, your hotel was around the corner from the White House.
Excuse me. It was. It
Yes,
doesn't
it
make any
was.
difference. It doesn't make
It
any
was because I
difference.
recommended it.
It belongs to all of us. And will
Listen,
you get look?
so
Look, I had people that
wait.
wanted to show me DC, and I did look. So I mean, this is the capital of the United States of America. In the last set of statistics I looked at, it is the most violent capital of any nation in the whole world by at least a factor of 4.
And let me ask you this: so those 2 robberies that you saw, were they done by immigrants?
No, they weren't.
How do you know?
Because
DC is filled with
being
immigrants.
being grown for 65 years in this country, I know what we look like. And
No,
it was
you don't.
not.
You
I
wasn't. You
know
wasn't
what
that close to
I,
that robbery
I
to know
I
what
was.
those people look like. And
Excuse
if he
me.
was black, he could have been
I
a
was.
black immigrant. They have a
Excuse
lot
me.
of
No,
black
that
immigrants
wasn't
in
what I was looking
DC.
at.
Let me just
That
say this.
wasn't what I
Let
was
me
looking at
say
because
this.
I
Let me
heard
say
the
this.
language. There
Let
was
me say
yelling.
this because you
So I'm
spoke. Now
driving
let
in
me
the
speak.
center lane
You
in a
spoke.
2-lane street
You
next to the curb.
spoke.
I know
So
what I'm
let
looking at.
me speak.
Okay, go
First
ahead.
of all, when we're talking about black people, especially in the DMV area, it is a whole lot of legal black immigrants. People don't know if you from whatever country, if you're an immigrant or not, unless they tell you or you hear their accent when you open up their mouths. And black immigrants are lumped in with foundational black Americans when we're talking about the census, when we're talking about the population or anything black. So when we're going to this whole thing of black on black crime, what I'm saying here is you cannot sit up here and think and look at black people. We're the only ones committing crime. We're just talking about crime. We're not. Stop cutting me off. Stop cutting me off.
I didn't say
We're,
that.
we're talking about no, this was a conversation way before you came
All
in
right,
here.
go ahead.
So you stepped into this conversation.
All right.
So we're talking about black on black crime because I know you didn't see the Jubilee thing, but that's all right. But the thing with black on black crime is stop. The media makes it as if it's only black people. People have these talking points. The conversation is never about why or never about solutions. It is just about these numbers. So, and then some of those stats are not even accurate to a certain degree. And when you mention where you live at in Memphis at the Lowe's, you claim that people are walking in groups to their cars. Well, you should be walking to your car at night with somebody, period, no matter where you at. But that is true that now
I didn't
that
mean
is
to.
stop interrupting me. That is true that a lot of these stores, whether it's a supermarket or the Home Depots, there have been an uptick in shoplifting. But why all of a sudden people are putting a black face? Because where I'm at in Cleveland, and that's pretty black. But when we're talking about shoplifting, oh, there's white faces, it's Hispanic faces, it's not just black face. So
That's not my point. My point, Dana, is not that other people don't do it. We're the only ones that glorify it. We
who's
talk
glorified?
about.
I've never
Look.
Who
If you
glorifies
a
stealing
mother
though?
or a father
okay,
or a man glorify
we look.
robbery and drive-by
Well, we
shootings.
don't
The
I'm
glorify
not.
majority
stealing
of the
like that.
black
I'm not
people
I think
in
talking
he's referring
about
to like
DC,
the rap music
they
ordinary.
and stuff
want
like
I'm
that.
not. I'm not
Judge.
talking
Let
about
me say this to you,
ordinary
Judge, and let me
people.
give you this fact right here. Let me tell you this
I'm not
fact
talking
right
about
here. When I did
ordinary
a
people.
show, wait, hold on for a second, Judge. When I did a show on Monday and I had people call in, and this guy who lives in DC said, listen, black people in DC, we don't have a problem with the National Guard come in. The problem that we have, we don't see them because he got the National Guard around the monuments and the Smithsonian where the tourists are at.
Hey, that's not my
They're not
point.
where
Well, at
they need
least
to
deal
be.
with
So
my
black people are
points.
not glorifying. They actually want those people to come in and help decrease the
I
crime.
got that, but at least deal with my point. That's not what I
Your
said.
point is
I didn't.
invalid.
I
That's
no
what I'm
no no.
saying.
My point's not invalid. You are not responding to it. I did not
I
say
am
black folk.
responding.
I did not say black folk are the only people that commit crimes.
No, you
I
said
said
glorify
what
it.
I said. Yeah, in
And I'm
our
telling you,
media.
we
Look,
do
in
not.
our media, in our music, in our
Music is one
ideation.
thing.
Will you
Okay,
stop interrupting me?
let's take music.
Now, I dealt with it for a living for 50 years. You didn't. I'm the expert in
You
this.
dealt
I
with
could
what?
testify as an expert witness in this.
You
You've
dealt
never
with
dealt
what?
with what I've dealt
You
with.
dealt
Now,
with
will you
crime.
stop and learn?
No, you
Listen.
dealt with crime, and you were not only criminalizing or putting a judgment down on somebody black. You had to put judgment down on people who were
I
white,
did
who
on
were
what?
Hispanic.
Listen. The difference is this. There are fine, upstanding citizens who happen to be black. Plenty of them. They work hard. They want the crime to stop. They don't have a problem with National Guard, Army, or anybody else coming in and restoring law and order. But if you look at what's going on with the Black Caucus, if you look at what's going on with the alliance between the Rainbow Bunch, the Black Caucus, and the white liberal, they are out there pushing this thing that so many people are getting upset about because somebody's restoring public order. And that's what I'm saying one of the problems is. Our ideation, as it is directed by our so-called leadership, is sick because no leader of any
So who
people
locked
should
that
be
lady in the state
glorified for
house in
crime.
Texas? Did black people lock that lady?
What say? Did they elect her?
I
Yeah,
think
they
Peter
did.
muted him. So one, I'm gonna say this
They
one
did.
last thing. Let me just reset the room. I'm gonna say this one last thing, and then I do have Zombie, Indy, Mister, and Paid.
I just want to make a quick comment after you're done, CJ,
Okay, so
regarding what the judge said.
I don't see Paid up here, but I do see Zombie, Indy, and Mister. And this is still open mic, so we're not just all talking about black on black crime. So you can request to come up. I like to be done by midnight. So guys, please like this space, repost the space, and bookmark the space, guys. Thank you. I just want to say this because the Jubilee thing conversation that me and you was having, Peter, the whole thing of violence is glorified in music and in hip hop and music, right? It's not that it's glorified as art. People talk about whatever their life experience. Now, the rap today, personally, I think is trash. However, if we are going to again just single out black music or hip hop, well, how about I say white music is trash, or you're talking about rock and roll? Because I grew up during the time of Nirvana, Nine Inch Nails. When we're talking about grunge music, they was talking about getting high, and they were actually shooting up, getting high, overdosing, killing themselves, committing suicide. Marilyn Manson talking about devil music. Guns N' Roses. I grew up with all that white music. And who was Ozzy Osbourne, who just passed away, and he was glorified all the way when his cassette was pulled into the damn ground. So when we talk about negativity in music, it's not just black. It is white, and it is any other genre of music, but particularly rock and roll. Particularly, yes, you have elements of hip hop that is negative. So don't come at me saying that we glorify violence in our music when white people have glorified devil and all types of other demonic shit in theirs.
But it's a
It's
false
not.
analogy because they're not crimes. I'm explaining to you why. Because they're not what you just described are crimes that or activities that affect only the individual that's
That's a
engaged in
lie.
it. They're not crimes against. They're not
You
crimes
a
against the
whole
person.
lie.
They're not go. It's not a lie, because when you shoot drugs and overdose, you die,
Yeah,
and
you
that's
talk
the end
about
of you.
giving it to
When
your
you go out
friends.
and
You talking about slipping Mickeys
when
into women. They had all
when
types of
Oh,
when,
nasty
look,
lyrics.
look.
They had a
If
whole
we're
bunch of
gonna,
nasty
when
lyrics.
you
They
go
talk
out and
about
commit an
devil
armed
worshiping.
robbery and you
Don't give
shoot
me
up a
that shit,
block
Peter.
and
See now, Peter.
11
Now you
people,
want to sit up here and
why are you
defend. You
talking?
want to sit up here and
Okay,
defend that rock and roll, Nirvana, grunge era
I'm
bullshit.
talking about the difference in
Ain't
the
no
false
fucking
equivalency
difference.
that
It's
you made.
negative. It's
It is a
negative.
difference. I don't. You could listen. You could say whatever you want. You
Yeah, he
can't.
forgot we
You
had
can
to
Oh,
ignore
okay.
reality.
pay for that
You saying
opioid
that you
You
want me to
crisis.
can't
feel better?
ignore the consequences of ignoring
You said,
reality.
okay,
How
so
about
Yeah,
you
we
that
give
one?
had to
us
pay
You
an
for
can
your
ignore
opioid
excuse.
reality,
crisis
but you
You
while we
want to
can't.
went
give
to
an
jail, though.
excuse
Yeah.
for the negative white music, but you want to sit up here and keep
I'm
bashing
not
amazing
making an
black
excuse.
music.
I'm giving you the reason why there's a federal action against what's
What
happening,
federal
because people
action
don't feel
against
safe to
what?
walk.
We're talking about music.
Uh,
okay,
I'm talking about criminal.
look,
Listen, it's all part of one thing that we've been talking about, which is why is the military going into black communities, quote unquote, to clean
But
up
they're
all
not
this
going
and
into
not
black
going into other
communities, Peter.
communities?
DC is
There,
not Chocolate City. It's not. It's only
look.
where
40%
where is
black.
Time.
And that's
where is Trump
including the
focused
black
on going
Can,
into?
immigrants.
could you
Areas that are
let the
blue.
guy
Go
talk?
ahead.
Can't I let him explain
No,
his
we are
position?
talking.
I can't get a word in
Let me
We are
edgewise. I can't
explain
get
talking.
a
it.
word in.
He's talking
We
intelligently,
were
and it would
already
be
talking.
part
No,
of
you agree
an
with him, Judge,
intellectual
and that's
exchange.
fine. But
That's
I'm
all
going
right.
to push back against
Why are
somebody
you
I
talking
don't agree
over
with,
him?
and that's
Because
fine. So
we
let me and Peter have at
if
it. Go
you're
ahead, Peter.
talking
You want to
if
talk,
you're
Peter? Go ahead,
talking
Peter, and
over
talk.
him, we
Make
can't
your
hear
make
what
your point, Peter.
Let's
if
not.
you're
Make
talking
your point
over him,
because
we
I'm
What
about
can't
to
what
hear
what I
what you're
was
respond, and then
saying.
I'm gonna
Let
go
him
to
say
Zombie.
it.
what
Let him say it so we
what I
hear
was
what you got to
explaining,
say.
is that crimes against the person are a different animal. When you're talking about not being able to go into your community, even walk from the grocery store without having to worry about to get set upon by individuals, it's a hell of a lot different than someone going to grab a bag of heroin or fentanyl and passing away in their house or passing away with friends. And so when you talk about what the Trump administration is doing, they're looking to clean up an area that should very well be the crown jewel of the country. Every single blue city is suffering from the same thing. And the reason is it's by design, because when you allow something to fester, people will clamor to give up more of their freedom so they could come in, lock everything down, take more of your rights and liberties, and then they could say, see, we had to do it. We had to do it to help you. And this is all just part and parcel with the police state to be able to usher in more bullshit. That's why they let it go in on as long as they have let it go on. That's why you saw the de Blasio administration. That's why you see all these other administrations in these blue cities allow crime to fester so they can come in and say, look, we solved the problem for you. You just have no privacy anymore. It's disgusting. It needs to stop. And I'm glad the Trump administration is doing it. I hope it spreads to every single city and people are deathly afraid to go and let their guns off and let that shit bark. I hope they all go to jail for a long period of time and they learn their
Don't
lesson.
sit up
And
here. So
that is what people
this is my
respect:
pushback with
violence.
you because majority of black people don't have a problem with when he bringing in the National Guards. But what I'm hearing is they're either not seeing it, they don't see them because they're on the other side of town. They're not in the black section because DC is no longer Chocolate City. But the fact is that okay, you come in. Are we seeing the difference? Now people are acting like DC was just full out of coke. None of us live in fucking DC to even know what's going on the ground there. But don't sit up here and say it's a difference when you buying a bag of heroin then someone rob you. No, it's not, because buying drugs, selling drugs, robbing people, they're all in the same bunch, because where you're buying drugs at, where you're selling them at, you got a robbery going on. So if you have white people that come into black neighborhoods, which I do and have done and continue to do, they're still robbing, you're still selling drugs, and on top of that, and then it's like, okay, yeah, sanctuary cities are in the blue cities, right? But don't act like quote unquote red cities, majority of Republicans don't have crime as well. But they're focused on the sanctuary cities, and I understand that. That makes sense to focus on sanctuary cities because of your administration. But don't ever sit up here and make it seem like, well, buying a bag of dope is no big deal than somebody robbing a woman, but it's always a black man robbing a woman. Like that's
Why
the
are you
I
bullshit.
didn't
always
even
That's
say
the
that.
fixated
bullshit
on
coming out your
women? It's
mouth.
not, the women aren't the usual victims of crime. It's other males. That's a falsehood, and that's the feminist mantra. Now, one thing that I have to interject, I'm going to say what Muhammad Ali said. My late brother was his bodyguard for several years. This is what he said, and it's the same thing the military says. It's the same thing international relations are about when it comes to propaganda. Muhammad Ali said, I make the other guy worry more about what I'm going to do to him than him thinking about what he's going to do to me. And we're so caught up in the concept of being victimized by white supremacy that we believe that whiteness is superior because we think it's going to hold us down. You cannot ever win if you have that negativism in your mindset. It is a psych game, and you have psyched yourself out.
So
You
who's
have
in power right now, Judge?
Well,
with
no, wait. Let me go to
everybody.
Zombie. I'm sorry.
Time,
It's
I got to ask this specific question. I
mhm.
got a real quick answer. In about 10 years, there's going to be no majority ethnic group in this country. Now,
But they still
everybody
want to
will
find a
be a
way to blame
minority.
nothing but black people.
No, the bottom line is this, is that you get
Let
ahead.
all the black people out of prison. Let's see if that number
You
changes.
don't need to let all of them out of prison. All of them, half of them need to be shot because they did what they're in there
No,
for, and
half
they
of
did
them
somebody
innocent,
wrong.
and their time
No,
should be up.
it
That's
ain't
not
I know some white
nobody.
people that need to be shot too.
Excuse
that's
me.
not
Yeah,
true.
that's too. But
I
let
know
me
some
tell you
Asians
something.
that need to be shot too.
Excuse me, facts. I dealt with it over the 50 years and saw it develop. For the last 50 some years, 97+% of the people that are in the penitentiaries pled guilty. Just a little more than 2% got found guilty by judge or jury. Out of the
Unfair
ones that,
sentencing laws. That's why we had
excuse
that.
me, that's a lot of myth because there's some lying fools that committed a crime and don't want their mama to know it. Now, the reality is I
Unfair
specialized
sentencing
in
laws.
criminal defense. A lot of them that confessed to me that they did it, asking me to work out something so they didn't get
Oh
jacked
my
over too bad.
Lord.
They're telling mama, I didn't do it. Mama, they put this case on me, knowing he's lying. Now, out of the 97+%
What,
that
Judge? What you
pled
been
guilty,
drinking tonight?
Wait, Indy,
and
stay,
I
Because
ain't
Joe
drinking. I'm
Indy,
Brown,
stay
what
on
do
telling
your
the
you
truth.
microphone.
Don't you
Stay on
come
your
up with that
microphone.
bullshit. Don't you state that bullshit, ignoramus. Your ass will wind up in a damn penitentiary. I'm sick of looking at young folk, white, black, brown, red, or other, get put into slave quarters because they don't have to if they
so
start dealing with what men have dealt with for eons, which is it's our job to maintain law and order where we live. If we ain't doing that, we ain't shit.
I,
And we
oh,
cop out and we punk out, and we've been too dependent upon mama taking care of us instead of taking care of our damn business and insisting that our communities are crime free by jacking up a son of a bitch who is a criminal. Now,
um,
that's the one damn thing that is lacked. We do not have that kind of vigilante thing going on. It ain't right when it's widespread, but there is an element of that. There
okay.
is a necessary element of that.
All right, I need to get to the speakers. And I'm gonna mute up. Whether it's someone I think sound ignorant or not, I'm just gonna stay muted. So it's Zombie, Indie, Mister. I don't see Paige. So let me scratch that off. Truth and Elder. So go ahead, Zombie.
Oh, I'm inviting Borderline up too because I really enjoy Borderline's takes. Borderline, I hope you'll take the
Is
mic.
Zombie still here? No, he left. Go ahead, Indie.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Amanda Seals cooked them because they really, I mean, they really didn't have too much of a complex argument. She was just picking them apart. I was real proud of how she, stood 10 toes down in there and didn't get bullied by those weak talking points. Um, I don't know what all the distractions from the Epstein files are about, but I'm sick of it. I mean, I'm hearing a lot of excuses for historical disenfranchisement and terror being dismissed, and it's disgusting. I don't give a damn if you are a judge, and I'm gonna land right there.
No, oh, God damn it. How many people you seen killed up front personal that you witnessed standing next to? You in the military? You over there in the sand pile, or were you in the NAM,
I
or are
I
you
had
old enough to have
uncles,
gone through
aunts,
Korea?
grandfathers that served
I didn't ask
honorably.
about that. I'm talking about you.
It don't
I'm
matter.
talking about you. And until you've seen it on a regular basis, don't talk shit about what it's about. You haven't experienced it. When you have, you know good and goddamn well what I'm talking about. And it's not some bullshit where you can talk about it theoretically like it is so unfashionable, or it ain't hip, or it ain't cool, or it's reactionary, or it's this. It's a finality to the shit that is, you can't get away from it. And people don't die like they do in the movies. It's real nasty. They piss and shit all over themselves and vomit when they do. There's blood and guts everywhere. And then you want to sit there and talk about all this bullshit that ain't even real, that is some talking points that some assholes in Hollywood who are too goddamn scared to walk anywhere without driving up to the goddamn front door in a limo. They want to sit there and push you into this bullshit ideation on what real life is about. And what the other brother was talking about, and I called him that because he talks sense, is what they used to call victimless crime. Ain't nobody getting done in except the one that's committing the crime. And there is a difference. If you want to commit suicide directly or indirectly, that's your own damn business. But when you start screwing around and messing up other folk, you need to be put in your damn place. I grew up in a community that did not allow that. Mayor Tom Bradley of Los Angeles was a cop on the beat. He and his partner used to talk to the men and tell them where the bullshit was going on. And if they wanted to go deal with it, then Bradley and his partner would be alibi witnesses.
Okay.
Don't come in my
Now,
neighborhood committing crime by buying dope because you're part of the damn problem. Go ahead, mister. Because that's a direct part of the problem. The dope buyer.
yes, it is.
Lock their asses up too. And
All
give
these
them 5
damn
years
zombies on
minimum.
fentanyl walk
Go ahead,
around in
mister.
a city
Let
and
let
sit
him
his
let him
damn.
take the hot shot and go
No,
home and self delete. How
how
about that?
about
Let
you
him
go to
take the
your
hot
own
shot and
white
self delete.
neighborhood and sell that shit there and buy it there.
Well, the
Go
only
there,
way you
and then
can.
you should still get locked up because it's
Well,
illegal. And
yeah, it's.
being a customer of when we're talking about drugs, you are perpetuating the whole process and the cycle of drugs in this country as well. You're part of the problem. But go ahead,
Yeah,
mister.
go ahead.
How's it going, everybody? You know, this I like a lot of what Judge Joe Brown said, but I actually have a question for the judge pertaining to a different issue. And I want to ask the judge, you know, you're a member of Phi Alpha Delta, right?
No, Alpha Phi Alpha.
Okay. And,
I'm actually a member of Phi Alpha Delta. That's funny you said that. That's
okay,
funny.
so Phi Alpha Delta, they had you on their website, so that's why I asked. But you know, I wanted to ask your opinion and your judicial experience about competency proceedings, right? And you know, in my particular case, a diversion evaluation was repurposed to competency without a hearing. Okay, and the Superior Court of California right now, okay, since we're talking about the rule of law, which is gone as far as I'm concerned, are actively concealing this. Now, I filed a state bar complaint alleging that my attorney, you know, abandoned me. He hasn't contacted me in the last 3 months or responded to any of my correspondences, and they ratified it. The state bar, the chief trial counsel of the state bar, okay, ratified my attorney abandoning me, and that's where I'm at right now. See, right now, I refuse to appear to court until the court can verify subject matter jurisdiction over the competency proceedings that had already committed me to the hospital. Okay, I get out, I tell my attorney, hey, were you able to locate that court order? He tells me, no, it's a non-issue. The court told you the same thing the last time we were in court. And then I tell him, you know, why is the Marsden hearing the only opportunity I have at redress, right? And the court acknowledges no court order for that assessment in the Marsden hearing. They continue to deny and seal the hearing, okay, effectively denying me any opportunity at redress. Now, when we look at the penal code, okay, the penal code is explicit when it talks about, you know, every person, you know, all people who do X, Y, and Z are subject to the punishment of the laws of the state. Why am I being prejudiced? Okay, equal justice in California, in Los Angeles, okay, where where I have due relief. What's going on, man? You know,
Perhaps
yeah.
you are being treated unfairly. Perhaps what the problem is California has lost its way. I went to UCLA more than a half century ago, law school. All right.
Well, listen,
Now,
listen. The
hold
Gavin
on.
Newsom, not to cut you off, Judge, not to cut you off, because I gotta let you know this. Governor Newsom.
Wait a second, Nick. You asked him a question. He needs
Well,
to
I didn't
answer it. Let him
just
answer
ask
the
a
question.
question.
Yeah?
I actually I unloaded a lot there. But
it has to do with the answer. Now, let me get this out so you can understand something. I have an answer, but I'm not going to and can't give it to you, because if I do, the difference between me and just about everybody else on this space is this. If I give you a wrong answer, it's malpractice, civil, and also dealing with, perhaps, since I'm not licensed in California at the moment, unauthorized practice of law. The rest of you can say anything you want about anybody's situation, but if somebody like me says
right,
it's
so
malpractice,
but you understand how that
I understand.
You understand how that functionally leaves me in a disposition, though, right?
I understand.
Okay,
but
so
I am in a
when we
position
talk
where
about, you know, the Second Amendment, right? When we talk about, you know, a citizen revoking consent, right? And when we talk about, you know, government officials inverting constitutional rights to cover up public corruption, I don't see why these people shouldn't be murdered, homie. Straight up.
okay,
There's
let
no
me
rule of
say
law.
this.
We're not going to call for
Let me
violence.
say
No, I'm
this.
We're
not
not going to
calling for
call for
violence. I'm expressing the sentiment
Let me say
here.
this. I'm going to try to answer you within the limits that are put on me because I'm a professional.
Well, there are no
Right?
limits. The rule of law is gone.
Yeah, there are limits, because unlike everybody else, I'm an expert. I am a professional. And if I say the wrong thing, it is actionable civil malpractice.
Okay, so
I
can
could be
diversion
sued.
be repurposed to
No,
competency without a hearing? Can there be a competency assessment without a court order?
To me. You're listening to me. That's stating an opinion, and that would be giving you
No, I
advice,
asked the
which would
question.
be
Can a diversion evaluation be
Will you listen
repurposed to
carefully?
competency without a
Would
court
you
order?
listen carefully? If I tell you what I could tell you, I'd be giving you advice.
You're not telling me what to do. You're just answering a basic question.
The difference is you may not think it, but somebody with my background, with my professional status, might think differently. And I don't know you, son. You're not a family member. I've heard you. I'm impressed by what you say sometimes on this space. But I'm not going to put myself in a position of suffering liability civilly and criminally by saying certain things you may think are happen to be all right, but
okay, so
somebody
my
else
question
who
is
can
not
come after it may not. Now that just has to be the be all and end all. So I said that rather than letting you go on at long length,
okay.
expecting me to come up with a suggestion,
You know, I
or
accept
giving you
that.
analysis. Now,
I
let me
accept
give
that.
you what I can tell you. When you're talking about sovereign citizens, the citizen has sovereignty because he's part of a collective whole. It is the entirety, the body of citizens that are sovereign. Any individual has sovereignty because he's part of that whole. The individual citizen does not have the standing to act as a sovereign because he is essentially powerless against the body that is sovereign.
Because the guarantee clause hasn't been enforced.
No, it's got nothing to do with that.
Why does it not?
Listen, I'm going to tell you. If you read an indictment, it says the people of the state of California, people of the state of Tennessee, people of New York, people of Florida versus Tom Jones. How many millions of people do they have in California? The people is a singular entity. Like a reasonable man in American law is what 12 people on a jury say it is. So it is a collective. The individual
Look,
has
man, there has to be a reason the guarantee clause wasn't in.
I'm trying to tell you this.
Let him answer the question, please.
Now, here's what the problem is. It's one of power. When you talk about millions of people, they have real palpable power and they have agents that can act for them. Mr. Williams, will you show the defendant whether or not your key to lockup works? If it does, Mr. Williams, Mr. Duckett, Sergeant, would you please escort the defendant back there and detain him and show him what power is about? You represent the state of Tennessee. Exercise the authority of the state of Tennessee under the orders of this court. So he's locked up. He can't resist. He doesn't have the power. Sovereignty is now and always has been about the ability to manifest power to back up authority. And that's what it's all about. So when you take that one so-called sovereign citizen, he has minuscule power, except as an aggravator perhaps, to do anything against the collective people.
Right, but it was
now that's a political science lesson.
Right,
but not law.
But when
Judge, can we distill it to might makes right? Going back to Thucydides.
Exactly.
But hold on, how do you justify, the state violating the rights of an individual?
Because they can.
Says who?
But you see, they do.
That's not what the Constitution
says. The beating they'll give you. Says the murder, the violence that they have a monopoly on. That's who says who.
What are you talking about? First of all, I'm not talking to you, so just wait your turn, bro.
Listen, the United
Okay, well, you ain't ready to talk to me.
Okay, stop. Listen. The state has the authority to act. The only entity that has the power to overrule the state is the United States government, because there are 320 to 380 million legal people in the United States. Maybe 410, 420.
The Constitution doesn't give the government the right, no state the right to violate rights.
Excuse me. The Constitution is a body of law. It is a specification of law. There is a court known as the U.S. Supreme Court that has the exclusive authority to apply it. Now, when it applies it, that's the law. It represents the law part of a triumvirate of executive to carry out the laws, the legislative to make the laws, and the judiciary to interpret and apply the law.
Yeah, I understand that.
That triumvirate determines the application of power. The United States runs NATO. The United States runs the UN. All of these international courts ain't shit unless the United States, Russia, China, and a few other select entities back them up, because they have the world of power. The United States has the dollar as the world's currency because the United States Navy has Ohio-class nuclear ballistic submarines under the Arctic ice cap that can incinerate the planet Earth. And that blackmail makes the dollar the paramount financial instrument of exchange.
Okay, well,
now,
how does
that's
this?
The reality.
Okay,
well, okay. So
how does the state?
Can this be the last question? Because I need to get to the other speakers.
How does the state have authority to violate individual rights?
Because they have the power until somebody more powerful tells them they can't.
Okay,
and then it gets up to the top,
i.e.
where
corruption.
Come on,
not
man.
corruption, law.
No. It's
And the
it's not
police,
law.
the
I'm confused
Okay,
now,
sheriffs,
Judge.
the
it's
highway patrols, the
it's
state agencies, they have the power. The
fraud.
next move
Fraud
up is
vitiates
National
everything.
Guard,
Fraud
the Army
vitiates everything.
Reserves for the
And let
state.
me tell you
Excuse
something,
me.
man.
All right,
We're
no,
not
No,
talking
wait,
about
stop for a
fraud
second.
here.
Stop,
And then
stop.
you go up to the
One second.
United States government. That's as far as you can go, because until you go to war with the United States government, there's nobody else to contest them
All right,
except its
Judge,
structures.
all right. So one,
Judge, I
wait,
remember.
stop for a second.
Hold on,
One
David.
second, because
Okay,
that was
all
a
right.
10-minute dialogue, and it was a good dialogue. But it's let me just say this going forward, because I have to get to the next speaker. When someone is talking, let that person finish what they're saying. The more you interrupt, the more you're going to prolong, and it's not going to get a good dialogue. And whatever question you ask is just not going to get answered. So I need to go to is Truth, then Elder, Bishop, Brooklyn, Breadman, and Borderline. So Truth is next.
How y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Doing great.
what I'm
I have
dealing
a
with is not
question.
more important than this
Oh,
rhetorical space. Okay, I'm just gonna let you know that. Okay, I will not be coming back here. God bless you.
Good, go hire a lawyer.
God bless you. Go with God. We dropped him. Truth, it's your mic.
okay. I have a question. Not sure if I should be asking this, and it's towards you, to you, Judge. And it's regarding. Do you think because of the killings that's going on here in the United States, and I'm from D.C., that they have insurance fraud going on with the killing, with the children?
I don't know. Maybe. Sometimes that's the case, sometimes not. You see,
Okay.
one of the problems that we're having right now that's different from 30 years ago, 35 years ago when I first got on the bench, 40 years ago when I was at the top of the game as a criminal defense lawyer is this. There's no intentional, purposeful crime like it used to be. It is morphed into random violence. In
Mhm.
other words, what has happened is it's more like opportunistic mess. Somebody has a Super Bowl party and there's a nice pet dog in the house. Everybody jumps up to go watch a rerun on one of the many TV sets. The dog takes the opportunity to snatch a morsel off of somebody's paper plate.
Mhm.
That's the kind of crime we have now, not thought out, planned criminality. It is just spontaneous, typically violence. It's not thought out, it's not
Mhm.
planned. Of course, there are exceptions,
Right.
but it's changed because there is this perception that is brought about because we are not teaching things to the youth. We do not have this in schools, public schools. I don't know what they're doing in private schools, but certainly not in the public schools because there was negative fallout about 40, 45 years ago that stopped it, and that is teaching people a set of mores, a set of ethics, a set of principles, a thing about how you are expected to behave. Because now you don't teach children how to behave. It's what the child feels like doing, not this is expected of you and you are a freak if you don't behave this way.
Okay.
I have a quick
So
question, Truth, for you.
yeah. Mhm.
Can you elaborate a little bit when you brought up insurance claims? I never heard of that.
Nobody would ever heard of that, and I'm gonna
I
say
have. I
this.
mean, it happens. Sometimes what's going
Okay.
on is the crime was committed, or the outcome of what happens is because there's an insurance matter.
Okay. So this is.
Stuff does not get raised,
Mhm.
particularly when somebody's squawking about it, unless there's a deep pocket.
Okay.
See, unless there's insurance, all of this stuff, I'm going to sue you, is useless because most people are judgment proof. You get a judgment against them, you spend a lot of money getting it, but you just lost more money because they don't have anything that you can legally seize.
Okay. So the reason that I brought this up is because of organizations, right? I have a son that was a part of the organization, worked for the organization as a violence interrupter. Okay. And it has been multiple of the guys that worked there. 2 months later, they dead. Okay? So happened my son gets in that. He started working for this company, then he died. I mean, he didn't die, I'm sorry. He got shot up. He was died, which they call it dead on arrival at the hospital, but he was relieved from his
Revived.
injury. Revived, I'm sorry, from his injury. Now, I brought this information to the OAG, and they wanted to talk to me, interview me, and I didn't go forward because I didn't feel safe about it. Um, I'm aware of what's going on. It was brought to my attention of what's going on. I don't trust what's going on. DC is not trustworthy because you don't know who to talk to. I have been wanting to talk to an attorney in regarding this matter because I believe this is what's going on in the district when it came to this one organization. When I put this information out to OAG, then the councilman got locked up for bribery. Okay, and he was a part of the organizations.
It happens. Now, let me say this. I commend your son for his personal physical courage and bravery. That's why we have something called the hero. And humanity spends a lot of time lauding its heroes. Not so much this anymore because we don't have many except in the military, and we have developed the habit of hiding what our military heroes do. It's a bad thing. That is accepting personal danger
Mhm.
or threats to your personal safety.
Mhm.
And for the benefit of others, you take those risks. So, congratulations to your son. But there are things and there are tasks and are occupations that are hazardous. And we need to appreciate them more. Unfortunately, our category of hero embraces clowns like Al Sharpton or a singer or something, or an athlete who hasn't done anything except make millions of dollars doing what a lot of people do for recreation. That's not a hero. It's, do you put it on the line? Are you actually taking a physical risk doing what you're doing? That makes you a hero. If you face down the danger and you do it anyway because it's the right thing to do, above
So
and beyond what your job says you should do.
right. So Judge, let me say this to you. When I say it was multiple guys, when I say guys, they of age, they not kids. They take on this responsibility of jobs to help out the youths. And this
Mm-hmm.
is the tragedy that happened to them. So let me just say my son is is one that he survived from his injury, and he talked to me and told me what had happened, right? So it's like I took initiative and did what I needed to do by talking to someone at the OAG, but I didn't give my name, I didn't give any of that because I don't trust it. But my son, when he got shot, he shot back. And my son,
Good for him.
so my son is in jail right now after 2 years. He's still not recovery from his injury. They didn't treat him as a victim. They treated him as a criminal. And I have a problem with that. I've been going back and forth to the court with him, doing he still have to go to doctor's offices and etc. So being though he was going back and forth to court, watching them how they railroad my son, in regarding this incident. Never once said anything about injury. Is he okay? Is anybody okay? Who shot you? None of that. They locked my son up.
Well, of course, that's in Washington, D.C., where the liberal element is in charge of the operation of the city. They think anybody acting in a manly fashion to stand up to evil or wrongdoing is somehow or another a perversion. Everybody should lie down and be a sheep in some nebulous something somewhere unstated unknown is supposed to protect them like there's some kind of child still in a crib. That's
Mhm.
not how humanity has ever worked, but that's how
Mhm.
the people who wind up imposing fascist, totalitarian dictatorships
Mhm.
uh, wind up getting in place, because scared people don't want to be reminded of their cowardice by
Mhm.
appreciating those who bravely stand between them and a threat. So
Mhm.
they want everybody to be a victim. That's what I was talking about earlier. When
Mhm.
somebody is more worried about what number A or number one is going to do to them than
Mhm.
they can figure out to do to the other person to protect folk. They don't like that.
Right.
That was Muhammad Ali told me that one time. My late brother was his bodyguard. He said, I psych people out by getting them to worry more about what I'm going to do to them than they take time thinking about what they can do to me.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
that's the
Right.
way this system works now. It keeps people in a perpetual state of fear. It
Mhm.
takes away from them the thought process they
Yep.
need to be brave and stand up. And
Mhm.
it makes them more a victim, so they feel like they need more protection, which, as one of our speakers has already eloquently put forth, allows them to come in and start implementing authoritarian government in the name of safety. It does
Well.
not work. And I'm not talking about Trump either. I'm talking about the other side that wants to take all of your rights,
Mhm.
strip you of the ability
Mhm.
to defend yourself, make you a
Mhm.
criminal because you've
Mhm.
stood up for other people. And then when
Mhm.
somebody tries to kill you, to
Mhm.
make you a crook because you
Mhm.
defended yourself.
Mhm.
That's what
Yes.
I'm talking about.
I thank you, Judge. I thank you, Dana.
Thank
I've
you.
been wanting
Appreciate
to
you.
get this out, but I really appreciate you all for having me up on your panel.
Well,
Yeah, and
thank
I hope.
you for raising a son
Good
like
luck
that.
to your son.
Thank
I
you. My son
thank
is
you.
good. He's good though. We getting good spurs.
Well, excuse
We
me.
in good
Thank
spurs.
you, ma'am. Thank you for raising him like that. Thank you.
Thank
Our,
you.
our
You did your
Thank you.
job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank
Um.
you.
Okay, so we have Elder, Mr. Elder, and then Bishop, Brooklyn, Breadman, Borderline, Lovely. Go ahead, Elder.
Looks like he lost his connection. I'll bring you right back up, Elder.
It's like as soon as I said his name. Okay, let me write down the Great Debate too. You could be after Lovely. Is Elder back up? I see him requesting. Okay.
We'll bring him back up.
Uh, how you doing, Dana, Judge, Peter,
How are
everybody in the
you?
space?
Doing great. Good to see you.
Yeah,
All right.
I tell you what, this AI making a lot of Americans very, very. People don't pick up a book more. They don't bother to read shit. Don't do none of that stuff no more. You look. I wanted to bring up 2 points real quick. The first point was a summit that Trump had with Putin in Alaska. I never heard none of the news media bring this up. None of the so-called experts. Why Trump brought it up? Had that summit in Alaska, which I did a little bit of research on it, right, and found out that it was some people should know this. That Alaska was bought by the United States from Russia in the first place.
What?
That's very true. The United States bought Alaska from Russia.
Oh, yeah. Elder, you still there?
Elder, are you having technical difficulties?
Yeah. If you're on a Bluetooth, just get off the Bluetooth. The Bluetooth doesn't help.
Weather here.
Oh,
What I was saying was that the United States bought Alaska from Russia.
yeah. Where you at?
Sir, you
Florida?
dropped
Yeah,
off.
Yeah.
you're cutting out, Elder.
Can you hear us?
Elder, why don't you restart your phone or reinstall the app or update it, and we'll bring you back up because we can't hear you at all.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead, Bishop.
Putin on his
Can
ass.
you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you, Bishop.
Okay, good. Actually, I was going to wait, Dana. I was listening to a lot of people as I normally do, but I will say this: the young lady that was speaking just a moment ago, the one from DC, talking about her son. Let me say this: I've been a bishop for a long time. I've also been an outcast because of the fact that when I talk to people, I talk to them and I give them the truth. See, we've been lied to all of our lives. Most people don't understand this, and most people don't want to understand. What we know a lot about of our history, things that we know that that have been taught to us about our past, has been lies. The judicial system has also been a lie, and it's not because of honest people that got into the system, such as Judge Brown, who got into the system to do their part in order to make the system better. However, there have been a lot of folks who have gotten into the system because they know power, money, power, and greed, factors that draw people who want power. And in my experience, people who were, let's say, not of the best intentions to get into the system because they know that they would have power to be able to do whatever it is that they want to do and make money on the side doing that. In our judicial system across the United States, there are many, many districts, areas, whatever you want to call them, that have corrupt politicians. They have corrupt judicial systems. They have corrupt mayors. They have corrupt police departments, police chiefs, and so on and so forth. The evilness that has been in our system has been here for a very long time, on the fact of over 100 years. It has not changed, and it's not going to change. There are folks that are doing things in order to try to make things better. But until you weed out every last one of the people that have infiltrated the system and make the system an evil system, you're always going to have problems. If you commit a crime, if you don't commit a crime, if you get caught up, and especially folks who get caught up. I talk to a lot of people. People will come to me. I've had a lot of folks that have come to me that were in the wrong place at the wrong time. And they were defending themselves against an attacker or somebody that tried to rob them or whatever the case was, and they defended themselves. That's a natural thing. If somebody comes and attacks you, you're going to defend yourself. The problem is that when the police come, in a lot of cases, they're not interested in getting at the truth. They're just interested in getting the people off the street. They don't care how they get them off the street. And 8 times out of 10, it goes against the person who was actually defending themselves. This is the problem that we have in America right now. We have lost our moral fortitude in the United States. Our moral fortitude was lost when people of illicit repute got into the judicial system. And now when somebody comes in to try to remove them, that's when you start having the issues that we have. It's always going to be a fight because now they're entrenched. They are entrenched, and they are entrenched very deeply. It starts at the top and it works its way down. And there are a lot of people that are in it. I have personally known folks who went in with the best of intentions and still ended up getting caught up in the criminal element of our judicial system. So I feel very badly, and I truly do, for people that get caught up in that. I have no remorse for folks who intentionally went into our system to tear it up for personal gain, and then they get put in jail for the things that they did. But they're the ones that always holler the loudest. And then they use the term justice to cover what they were doing. So I just wanted to say that. I'm going to get off. I want to continue to listen to folks. And Dana, Judge, thank you very much. Peter, good seeing you being a co-host this evening. I'm just going to sit by and I'm going to listen some more. But I wanted to drop that in because people need to understand this is a national emergency. And for me, however, it's a more spiritual thing. I won't get into that today, but I am doing a sermon on spiritual warfare. I'm doing a sermon series where I'm going to talk about spiritual warfare and how that works in our system today, how it is affecting us, how it keeps us fighting against each other instead of fighting our real enemy. That is what I'm saying to everybody that's listening right now. We need to quit fighting each other because the fight is not with each other. The fight is against the system that is creating the space for us to fight each other. They want us fighting each other. If they have us fighting each other, then we're not going to concentrate on the truth, which is them. And they are the true evil. Don't be mad at somebody who's going in trying to eliminate that evil. I really do not understand how people knowing, and I'm going to say this, knowing that the Democratic Party is not for the embetterment of the people of the United States, child trafficking, drugs, all that kind of stuff. That's what they're for. I'm sorry, but that's the truth.
Um,
And
uh,
people have a problem with that. That's okay. That's your opinion. So be it. But it's not the truth. And that's something else that we are lacking in this world today. Because when somebody speaks the truth, you don't want to hear it. You don't want to listen to it. You don't even want to consider it. And that's exactly what your enemy is banking on. And that's
can I ask you a question, brother?
Go ahead.
Do you not think by the way you made that statement, because you can say the same thing even if you was on the other side. Do you not believe, because the black community is coming into an awakening? So I'm just asking you, you don't feel like you handicap yourself when you talk like that? You don't feel like maybe you're walking around with one leg and one arm
When
when
I
you just
talk like
call
what?
out when you just call out
When I talk
one
like what,
party?
man?
Yeah, the
Be
state.
more specific. Be more
Okay, so
specific. When
I
I'm
got your
talking
back,
like what?
bro. You're talking
yeah,
about how we need to be together, and then you bring up Democrats, which is dividing a line between two different people and two different ideologies. So that's
Okay,
not really about what you preach at all. And you said anti-system, and you bring up politics, which is complete systematic bullshit. So get your
well,
yeah,
story
but he
straight.
only spoke to one side of the problem. So
well,
That's what
if
I
he
mean,
didn't,
as
bro.
a
He's
black
creating a division.
man, I
Like
was
if
just
it's a
asking him. As a black man, I was asking him, does he not feel handicapped or put in the
Okay,
corner
so if you
when he
ask,
talks like
let
that?
him respond.
I hadn't got to the end of my answer, and I understand why you said that, because I was going to make the comment right after, as soon as you spoke up, I was going to make the comment, but there are Republicans involved with this as well. There are rhinos. There are Republicans that say that they are for making things right and doing things right. Yes, Republicans, independents, Democrats. There are a lot of them on all sides. There's a lot of blame to go around. The
So
question is,
just to be clear, brother, you're not actually calling out any Republicans. You're just calling out Republicans that you don't think are on the party line.
there are Democrats that I know that want change, that are not part of the evil of a lot of the Democrats that are out there. There's a lot of Republicans that are not trying to work toward the betterment of the United States. There are a lot of people from all of the parties that are involved with this. So I understand what you're saying. Okay. This is all, there's a whole lot of people from a whole lot of different areas. My point is this: it's not, we need to start focusing on how to get these type of people out of office. We have the power. It's called voting. We have the power to do it. But the problem is we spend a lot of time fighting each other, fighting our words, how we phrase things. We get too technical and we get, with minutia, and it takes us away from the target.
Let
And
me
that's
just ask you a
exactly what
question,
they.
brother. Just a quick question.
Wait, hold on for a second. Brooklyn, 1 second, Brooklyn, because oh shit, never mind. You're next, Brooklyn. So you can ask him the question, but because I'm trying to like get through the speakers. So go ahead and ask him the question. It's just so happened that you're next.
I just, because you're being a little vague, so I just want to see what you mean when you say things like the betterment of America. What does that look like to you?
Okay, I had to unmute myself. When I say the betterment of America, I'm talking about making the United States, especially the legal system. There's a lot of unfairness that's there. That lady from DC was just talking about it. That's just one example. There's a lot of that that's going on, but we can fight that. But we have to educate ourselves, and we have to work in order to take and vote the people out that we know are bad. If we don't do that, then we continue to let them run the show. And all we're doing is running behind them screaming. So we need to get out and vote, regardless of what people tell you to do. I've heard a lot of people say my vote doesn't count. That's not true.
That is
Your
true.
vote does count. Your vote does count.
No,
And I'll
it,
stop there.
it doesn't.
I'm going to stop there and you go ahead.
Okay, no. Don't please don't
Don't
tell him to go
interrupt it.
ahead.
Let Bishop, you
I
still
need
have
to
the
get to
floor.
I
We're,
need
we're,
Bishop to finish what he was saying, and I need to get to the next speaker, which is Brooklyn, because I don't want to carry this on for a whole hour. So
Yeah, we're not going to have an interrogatory between Bishop and everybody
Yeah,
else.
right.
and
Bishop, I
that's the
appreciate your
reason why.
points,
And
but
that's the reason why I'm leaving the mic. I'm just gonna listen.
I want to
I
hear
hope
your
I answered
sermon,
this
Bishop.
question.
I want to hear your
I'm
sermon.
sorry.
Well,
I
he
want
just gave a sermon.
later. I want to hear your sermon. All right.
Oh,
I
Oh,
I'll
enjoy
make
hearing
sure.
it. All right.
I'll make sure and send you the link, Judge.
All right.
I
Thank you,
certainly
sir.
will. I'm listening. Go ahead to the next person.
go ahead, Brooklyn.
well, like I said, the brother was being a little vague, but I'm so glad that he mentioned spiritual warfare and having an enemy. Because of course this political system is not doing anything for black people. It's just two sides of the same coin. The Republicans and the Democrats are demonic, and we have to fix our culture, and that requires knowing who our enemy is. And our enemy is this so-called white man and everything that built America and shaped it into what it is today. It all traces back to who shaped it. This justice system is designed to be unjust. It's designed to oppress people. It's designed to profit off of crime. And it's going to keep working like that. And it's everything all traces back to the same source. Child abuse, homosexuality, pedophilia. This is all white culture. And the sooner we realize we have a spiritual enemy, the sooner we can start rebuilding our culture.
so Brooklyn, what is the answer? Take us through the calculus. How do we start this? What's the first step?
I don't know who we is to you, because you sound like a white man.
I'm a Sicilian. I'm a Sicilian American.
You're,
I'm
you're,
a foundational Sicilian
you're
American. I'm
white.
FSA, and I'm standing in solidarity with the FBA organization.
You can stay in solidarity with the rest of your European people.
Well,
No, but what
they slaughtered about 150 Sicilians at the same time down south.
straight
They
up.
massacred them.
Do y'all
Um,
know what the
Thank you, bread
Italians
man.
did to black
just
people
throwing
I'm
that
here?
out
sorry.
there.
Wait, hold on for a second, because Brooklyn, this is your time to speak. But I ain't never heard of no massive slaughter of Italians in the South. So what year in history was this? what year in history? Now, Brooklyn, this is your time. So are
I
you?
can get that information before we get
Oh,
off,
you
but
don't even have
that
it.
is fact.
You just heard
Yeah.
it. You don't even have the facts. Okay. Well, go
I
ahead,
mean,
Brooklyn.
Well, no,
the
I
facts
want to hear
don't
from
lie.
Brooklyn
Yeah,
They
no, no,
happened,
no.
what the
Dana. It's
steps
Still
the
are.
has
truth,
the
Dana.
floor.
Yeah, Breadman, just wait. Well, I want to hear the facts from Brooklyn about how you're going to right
Yeah, there's
this
never been
ship
some
and
mass
stop it from
slaughter of
lifting.
Sicilians, but you know what there has been? An oppression of black people by Italians right here in America. In New York, in Philly, there's been riots. If you go into an Italian neighborhood to this day, there are very recent news stories of black people being assaulted and killed for walking into Italian neighborhoods in New York City. So let's not play that game like we're on the same team.
Are you oppressed right now, as we speak?
My people are oppressed.
Okay, are you oppressed, sir?
I care about my people. I don't care about just myself.
I appreciate you answering the direct question.
You're welcome.
So, Brooklyn, are you done, or do you want to say anything else, or should I go to the next speaker now?
No, you can go to the next
Okay.
speaker.
And the reason why I'm doing that is because if I don't know if anybody noticed, I'm trying to allot each speaker 10 minutes because I think that's enough time to ask a question, have a back and forth, or just state whatever you wanted to state. So go ahead. So it's Breadman, then Borderline, Lovely, The Great Debate, Ellis, Caesar, Immortal. So go ahead, Breadman.
All right. I'll bring that information back because I'm a history novice. But I do remember and I do recall coming across that information. I believe it happened down south, where I might be saying 100. That might be too much, but it was close to. They were brought out to the fields and massacred all at once, all Sicilians.
You
That's a
got,
fact that did
man,
happen.
don't just tell us what you believe. Look it up before you come in here with that nonsense.
History is not nonsense, brother.
And what you
You
said is not history, brother.
I mean, if you're not rebutting it, then I mean we both on the same side.
You
So I
want me to
think we should.
prove a negative? You want me to prove something didn't
Well,
happen?
it's
You
it's
just made it
it's
up?
okay. Well, let me. Here we go. Right here. Here we go. Right
If
here.
I
See,
might
I hate to do this to
offers
my own people because
guidance,
you're making me waste my time. In 1947, we can start here because I'm not Sicilian, but the Portela, the massacre refers to it was the killing, blah blah blah. 27 during May Day celebrations on May 1st, 1947. Um, there's also
This is
a
in
few other
Sicily. That's what you were saying
instances.
in the American South.
No, again, this did happen in the U.S. The incident that I'm talking about, and I will come back with the knowledge. But you got me, brother. My hands is up. I don't consider it a negative. We are here to learn. If I can be rebutted, I'll be wrong. If somebody can correct me, that's fine. But like I told Dana, I'll
Yeah,
come
that
back with the
happened in
information.
Sicily. That didn't happen in America.
Okay, okay. So I like to come up here and ask questions when we got Judge Joe Brown up here. Um, so I got like a couple of questions I want to ask Judge Joe Brown.
and go right ahead, ask the question.
Okay, I
I'm
heard the
listening.
brother talking to you about the sovereign citizenship. I just want to say to him, the only sovereign citizens to me or into America would be the police. They get qualified immunity. They are the only ones sovereign to this country.
They're not sovereign.
They can knock your
They have no
muffin
more
top off. They
rights.
knock your muffin top off and instantly get
They,
qualified immunity, brother. So that is what we would consider sovereign.
that's not what's going on. You can get the exact same situation and
No
status they
citizen has
have.
qualified
It'll,
immunity, Judge. Go ahead, Judge. Go ahead.
He's a citizen. What the difference is between him and you is he just took the oath of office and qualified for it, so he has it. If you want to do it and you have the physical qualifications and you have a good background, you can be one of those people. So it's not, in other words, anybody who is a decent citizen who has what it takes physically and mentally to become a cop can be a cop.
Yes, but the citizens are not a qualified immunity is not extended to the
Well, the
citizens of
point is
America.
this. I said it earlier.
Uh,
You can become a lawyer and a judge like me. All you got to do is be a citizen.
so I would
But
consider. So we would
what
consider.
difference is,
Yes, sir.
but hold on a second. If I tell you something and it's wrong, it is civil and criminal malpractice. If you tell somebody that, it's not. You see, in other words, I'm a citizen too, but I have special circumstances because I qualified for them.
Mm-hmm.
You can qualify for them if you put into the mix what's necessary to qualify.
Yes. So in
That's the
order,
difference.
yes, sir. So in order for me to have instant qualified immunity for murder, I would have to become a police officer, and those are the
Nobody
facts.
has qualifications for
Police
murder.
officers have
For
qualified
I have
immunity,
tried.
Judge.
Look. I have. They don't. I have had
Well,
cops
what
Oh
about
on
my
military
in
God,
my
when they're killing people
Judge.
courtrooms
from
for
other
murder.
countries?
Come on, Judge.
They don't have. Look, you are listening to the leftist Democratic Party, far left media talk bullshit. That's not how it works. And let me put
Okay.
it this way.
Yes,
I
sir.
wanted to make this remark. I
Mhm.
am a PADI certified master diver of almost 60 years experience. All right.
Okay.
And there are sharks in the ocean. All politicians, let's say, are
Hmm.
sharks. But there's a hell of a difference between looking at a bunch of 6 to 8, maybe 9 foot long black tip reef sharks and looking at a 6 foot long tiger or an 18-foot long great white like I have on occasion. When you've got the reef sharks around,
Hmm.
you just don't put your fingers out, you're cautious. When the big boys get around, that's a whole different order of business. The problem is that what the Democratic Party has done is that they have continued to use what they picked up in terms of people management that they learned from a long period of time when they sponsored, enforced, spread slavery, and then attempted to keep the ex-slaves in a position that was akin to slavishness. And they have turned that into the benefit not of King Cotton now,
Hmm.
but to the rainbow cult. And they use the same methodologies that they've been using since they came about in the first decade of the 19th century for 200 some years to oppress people.
Now
And
I agree.
I'm
Go
not
ahead.
worried about Republicans because Republicans approve of the Second Amendment. They now understand what the First Amendment is about. Nobody's ever had a case in the country with the Third Amendment. The Fourth Amendment, they get it. They try to enforce it. The Fifth Amendment, they certainly get it. The Sixth Amendment, and on. They support the Constitution.
Man, you almost
The
answered most of my
Democrat
questions I was about to ask you, Joe. Go ahead.
the the First Amendment is now being suppressed. Kamala Harris was campaigning on it needed to be amended and restricted because it was too dangerous. The Second Amendment they want to get rid of
Hmm.
so you have some personal way of protecting yourself or collectively acting as a check and balance to the
First
whole
Amendment, freedom of
system.
speech. Second Amendment, right to bear arms. It's just for people who
Yeah,
don't know.
and then the Third Amendment, that there's never been a case on that one. That's got to do with quartering troops
Hmm.
in the residential homes. The Fourth Amendment's got to do with seizure. Fifth
Right
Amendment,
to search and seizure. Yes, sir.
yes, and they want to get rid of that because they think they can come in your home if they don't like what you're doing because you said something under the First Amendment
Hmm.
that might be deemed hate speech. They can come in and seize all your records.
Hmm.
The Fifth Amendment, the right to remain
Rain
silent,
silent. Let's go, big coach.
they privilege against self-incrimination. They've been stomping on that. Most recently, you saw them prosecute Bill Cosby, which they, because of the violation, they had to throw his conviction out on the appellate level, even in the state courts. The Sixth Amendment, that's not so big a thing. That's just dealing with appellate matters. But it's like right now,
Hmm.
the Democratic Party is the number one enemy against the Constitution that we have. You can see that by the four-person majority on the U.S. Supreme Court, how they consistently want to restrict what used to be deemed uh, unquestioned constitutional rights.
So
They
my
want
go ahead.
Big Brother morphed into tranny Big Sister to take care of you from cradle to grave.
The
Now,
salaciousness. Yes, sir. Oh well, I'm gonna just leave with two questions because it's crazy. You answered a lot, so I'll just kind of like lock it in. And I also want to say, I don't know if you remember Judge O'Brien, that the NAACP was a nonpartisan group. But when it comes to like the we call them First Amendment orders or the Constitutionist movement, right? When dealing with police, when you're having police interaction, my first question is, do you believe that it's more easier to comply, or it's better to embrace your rights, i.e., the right to remain silent, not opening the door for the police unless they got a warrant? Do you think the first or the latter is more beneficial? And then my last question would be, do you remember when the Black Panthers came to D.C. With those blinkies, with those 12 gauges? Do you remember that? That's the only two questions I wanted to ask you, and I'll fall back and listen.
okay, you have a right to be free from an unlawful search and seizure. If you're in your home, you do not have to open your door unless they have a warrant. It's always best downstream that if they want to get in and you don't want them in, let them force their way in. If you don't want to say anything, say, I'm exercising my Fifth Amendment right to remain silent.
Okay.
That's nothing wrong with that. But when you sit up there, I know my rights. You can't get me out of this car. I don't have to come out of the car. Well, you're wrong right there.
That's
Because
not
if you're
remaining silent, Judge. That wouldn't be
no,
remaining
that no,
silent,
no,
would
no,
it?
no, 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 that isn't. But it deals with another little factor that a lot of people are too ignorant to realize. When you acquire a driver's license, you agree to being stopped by police for traffic enforcement
Hmm.
purposes, and they can ask you for driver's license,
Yeah.
registration of vehicle, proof of insurance. You will get a ticket, but it's best to sign the ticket because you're not agreeing that you're guilty. You're
Hmm.
simply saying, I agree to appear in court to resolve the matter.
All right. I need to move on to the next speaker.
Well, he didn't answer the
Now,
question about the Black Panthers coming to D.C. with the
Black
guns. Yeah.
Panthers, I'm familiar with the Black Panther Party. That coming to D.C. you're talking about is kind of after their heyday. And that, see, it wasn't a universal semblance from one location to the other. Imagine a franchise. Imagine a political party. A Republican in one state is not necessarily the same as a Republican in another, nor is a Democrat, nor is an independent. So when you see one group of Panthers doing something, that's not necessarily saying that all Panthers agreed to
Hmm.
it.
Hmm.
All right. I need
Now,
I
to get to
got you.
another
I got you.
speaker.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you, Dana. Thank you,
you're
Judge.
Dana,
welcome. All right, let's
Dana,
go to
can I,
borderline.
Dana,
We have borderline
Dana,
lovely, the great debate, Ellis, Caesar, Immortal, Gibson. Did
Dana.
you just bring somebody else up? Oh,
No, it's me, Bishop. Can I have 10 seconds real quick? I just want to make a real quick point. I promise. You
okay.
have my word. People, Judge, when the judge talked about what the Democratic Party was about and what they were doing, nobody said anything. When I was speaking about it, hadn't made it to the Republicans, people jumped all over me because they thought that I was only talking about the Democratic Party. This is the point. That's the point that I'm talking about. When we have people trying to have a conversation, you jump on one person for saying one thing, but when somebody else says the exact same thing, you don't jump on them. This is what they want us to do, and that's all I want to say. Thank you, Dana.
Borderline.
Oh, excuse me. Hey, Dana, how you doing? Um,
Good, how are you?
Brother Judge, how you doing? I commend you for being up and lucid past 7:30. It's good to see you. Um, I think the conversation.
Usually don't go to bed till 3 o'clock in the morning, but go ahead.
You know, I'm just talking about shit.
Can you wait? Can you hold for 1 second? Hold
Yeah,
on,
yeah,
one
yep,
second.
yep. Go
Thank
ahead.
you, Trumpinator on YouTube says the problem with the Republicans is they're mostly punks who don't want to fight back. That is true. So thank you again for the super chat, Trumpinator. Go ahead, Borderline.
Yeah, so when I came in, I think the conversation was in one place, and I came in like right before the young man came in and kind of changed the conversation about his legal matter. But I had heard Peter ask me to come up, so I wondered if he got a specific question for me, what was on his mind, what was the conversation kind of geared to at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you came up. I appreciate it. I'd like to actually reference what we got into it about last night, which was you stating that nothing can really be done until reparations are paid out. That you know that Black Americans really can't take any moves forward or move forward until reparations are paid. And I want to see if you would give a little exegesis on that.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of my analysis of everything. I mean, we can kind of move along and survive, but we're under the dictation, and unless we get reparations and we're able to move forward for ourselves, then yeah, we're at the mercy of all these things that you're talking about, these civil liberties and these rights that we're losing. Yeah, we're gonna lose them, and we're gonna lose them as pardon my language, but hey, niggers in America. Well, that's what we are. We are the bottom caste. There's no motherfucking if, ands, or buts about it. Yes, you can, you know, you can find success within the prison, right? Like you know, you can get certain jobs in the prison, but when it comes down to it, uh, no matter how accomplished the judge is, if they want the judge, they can come get the judge. We watched it with Bill Cosby, just illegal prosecution, and nobody went to jail for illegally prosecuting him. And that is the position of Black people in America. And so we live through this stuff and we watch each trauma that comes for us, like i.e. Trayvon Martin, Tamar Rice. I mean, you name it. We watch these things. We see that we have no civil rights, no human rights in this country, but we just continue to kind of go along and get along because subjugation is very comfortable at this point.
Okay, let me ask you a
Yeah, go
question.
ahead,
Let me
Judge.
ask you a question. You mentioned Trayvon Martin. Do you happen to know what his ambition in life was?
I do not judge.
He wanted to be a police detective like his father and grandfather. Those two were on the Miami Department when he was killed. So he wanted to be part of that system. So how would he have been excluded if it wasn't for this first generation Cuban descendant who basically was doing what they did for young 20ish first generation descendant Cubano OGs? There's a horrible problem in the Miami area between that first descendants of the first generation of Cuban immigrants and everybody else. Perhaps there was a problem reflected in that more than a racist situation.
Well, for me, I come back to the part of the government. Like, I really don't care about him. I mean, I do in what he did, but the point is the after effect, right? Um, this is Florida, and Florida has a stand your ground law. And
So does every other state except six.
okay, all right, so that's good. So in the stand your ground law, I don't understand how that was not afforded to Trayvon Martin.
He was the one. Look, what happened is his civil lawyer was ignorant of the law and didn't advocate it, wanted it to keep quiet. Anderson Cooper of CNN asked his mother not to bring up certain things so they could keep it quiet because it ramped it up and amplified the racist aspects of the thing. The problem is I told that civil lawyer who was ignorant of the fact. I told him personally when Trayvon's mother personally asked me to get on a three-way with him. I said, Counselor, don't you realize that it's your client that had to stand your ground right, not Zimmerman? He said, huh? He didn't even know it.
And
So here we have a practitioner of the law that was ignorant of the fact that his own client had to stand your ground right. See, it wasn't a Jewish man, Zimmerman. It was a Hispanic. The reason he had Zimmerman as his last name is because back in the 40s and 50s, a lot of Jewish people went to Havana, Cuba to party from New York. Frankly, they knocked up a number of Cuban women, and they used the last name of the person that was responsible for their offspring. So a lot of Cubanos got Jewish last names. And that's what happened with Zimmerman. He wasn't white, he was Cuban.
but the nail in the coffin is, even though once we get past the original transgression of the dumb lawyer, right? Am I correct? And maybe I'm wrong, but I did think that we had a federal investigation that went along with the original thing. And that's the
Well,
point,
you
because
see,
that now, how do we get past the federal investigation, not seeing
well,
that and
see,
understanding the
hold on a
transgression?
second. Hold on. The feds don't have jurisdiction over a typical homicide case unless it deals with some kind of violation of a person's civil rights. And you are going to have a hard time when you have just a simple street homicide to being turned into a matter of federal violation of somebody's civil rights. That's one of the things a lot of people don't understand. Why don't the feds do it? They don't have jurisdiction.
Well, what were they there for? What were they exercising jurisdiction on? What did they
Well, you mean
review?
the feds?
Yes.
That was a state case. That was a local elected district attorney in the state of Florida who had a hugely Hispanic district. What happened was Trayvon's father, who was a cop, a detective, was visiting a girlfriend who was also a lady cop. And he took a walk basically so dad could have some free time with his girlfriend and ran into Zimmerman. And Anderson Cooper wanted to rank the whole thing up for ratings, so they emphasized that it was some rogue looking young black kid with a hoodie on. And is Zimmerman acting like a responsible member of the community confronting somebody that looks like a crook? Well, the person that looked like a crook had a long standing ambition to be a police detective like his dad and granddad. So Anderson Cooper lied to the public for CNN ratings. So a lot of what happened was not the reality. It was the manufactured drama that came out of Hollywood.
Okay. And I understand that, but I don't. I'm taking the racial aspect out of it. I'm talking
Okay,
about.
take it out.
I'm talking about a straight murder. That was a murder. Um,
Yeah, but it's not a federal case. Murder is not federal unless it occurs under certain limited circumstances, like a bank robbery. The feds have jurisdiction over bank robberies because the feds insure the bank's deposits. So the
okay.
FBI investigates bank robberies, and that
Actually,
involves a murder. And if a murder comes out of that, yeah. But ordinarily, just a straight up killing, they don't have
okay.
jurisdiction.
So Peter, this conversation right here just shows you that I am absolutely right. So what the judge just told me is that in America, niggers ain't shit, and you can get fucking killed.
Stop saying the F word.
Okay, my bad. You can get
Well,
killed.
stop saying the N
Judge,
word.
Judge, Judge, is that what you said? I
That's
didn't hear
not
that
what
at
I
all.
said. I just
That, but okay.
Yeah.
Trayvon Martin was walking by himself. He was the guy who killed him was on the phone with the police who told him not to go do anything, and he went against the wishes of the 911 people, and he ended up murdering somebody that he was
Well, you
chasing
know,
through backyards and around.
he didn't
And
chase
he
it.
stood
Who
trial for it
He
by a
didn't
jury of his peers.
he didn't chase anybody through any backyards. That's hype.
he didn't
It wasn't
he
that
did
way.
not die
And
in the
what went
backyard.
on, what
And he was
happened?
charged and he faced a jury of his peers, and they decided that his
It,
actions were
Yes,
reasonable
and
and
even though
proportionate.
they
yeah, it's
decided that,
called.
it's wrong. But it doesn't matter
It's
that they
called. No,
decided
listen to
that.
me. Listen to me. Listen to me. Listen to me. It's a thing that is the downside, but it is the salvation of American law. It's called jury nullification. Now, this is funny, and I'll say it candidly so you'll get the idea. 45 years ago, I had a number of cases where I defended people. They were charged with a felony that carried 3 to 15 years in the state penitentiary. You know what the felony was? If a man and a woman went down on each other and she gave him a head job and he ate her pussy, that was 3 to 15 years in the state penitentiary. It used to tickle everybody that was a professional, the reaction of the jury. Jesus Christ, Lawyer Brown, are you telling me that for eating my wife's pussy I can get 3 to 15 years in the state
I'm
penitentiary? Yes,
about to
sir.
get
That's
life.
exactly what I'm saying. Your Honor, Lawyer Brown is telling you the truth, sir. That's known as unnatural sex acts under the laws of Tennessee. It's not anymore, but the jury nullified that. Oh, every time we'd go to trial, I ain't voting for guilty on something like that. Man, I ain't voting for guilty. I ain't gonna admit it, man, but damn. See, that's jury nullification.
All right. I need
Sometimes juries do that, and that's what happened with Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman.
I need to go to another speaker. Lovely is next.
Hey
How
Dana.
are
Hey
you?
Peter. I'm good, baby.
Hey,
Peace, Judge. My question for you is I don't know if you touched on it already. But I'm in New York City, right? And I see what's going on in DC. And I was reading up on how the other cities that Donald Trump allegedly wants to take this to. And when it comes to New York, he's saying that the reason he wants to do it is because of the bail reform that happened in 2020, which as a New Yorker, I could say once that bail reform once it hit, there's definitely been a rise in crime. So I guess my first question is it possible? Because some people are saying that he can't do it, and some people are saying he can do it in New York. And then what would I guess be like? I guess it's like a fine line between being a New Yorker, knowing that crime has risen, but also not wanting to become a police state. So those are my questions for you.
Okay, it works this way. Fundamental law and order comes from the citizens and their interactions with each other and the culture that they set up that develops the socialization and acculturation that spreads throughout a community. If they can't control it, then you have the police, and policing really means cleaning up. Police are new. Police were invented in the late 1830s in England by a guy named Robert Peel, who set up Scotland Yard, and that spread to New York and Boston in the early 1840s. Then the constitutional officer who's in charge of handling the matters that get out of hand is the sheriff. If the sheriff and his deputies can't deal with it, then you bring in various functionalities of the state, such as the highway patrol, state police, or special state agencies. If the state can't ensure public peace, dignity, and order, then it is the obligation of the feds to do that. In other words, if the state can't handle it, it's not going to be allowed to fester. The feds are supposed to step in and restore public order because what you have is essentially a riot. What you have is essentially an insurrection, big time. What you have is lawlessness that cannot be permitted to spread, and it starts impacting interstate commerce and communications. That brings the feds in to say, okay, people passing through here on the public highways can't do it in peace because they might get jacked up going through this part of the city or the town by criminal elements. So you get the feds in. So they can do stuff like that to enforce law and order. That's okay. Arkansas, 1956. The U.S. Supreme Court had ordered that schools be integrated with all deliberate speed. A Democrat governor of Arkansas, Orville Faubus, said he didn't care what the U.S. Supreme Court said. Weren't no Negroes gonna come through, Negroes gonna come through Little Rock High School as long as he was the governor. So Eisenhower, a Republican president, said, all right, tell you what, we'll send in the 101st Airborne and nationalize the Natural Guard. So now you got 15, 16,000 armed troops. We'll take care of enforcing the law. The same thing Newsom did. He's the governor of the state of California. He's a Democrat. He said, we're not going to follow the federal law. So a Republican president said, we'll send in the National Guard or nationalize the National Guard and send in the reserves. Same thing. But it was 70 years later. See, it's gone on over and over again throughout the country's history. There are levels, and that's how it works.
Thank you. And I guess my last part would be, why not just change the bail reform? Because I know they're tweaking it, which for those who don't know, in New York City in 2020, there's a bail reform with at least 400 crimes on there that you can now get away with, and it's a cashless bail thing. And they're heinous
Bail
crimes.
used to work until some liberal fools got a hold of the whole doggone thing and got to saying, no, we can't have that. I've seen people living in the worst parts of town with the lowest per capita incomes get bail, set a surety bond for somebody where they put up 10%. And if somebody didn't appear, they sent out a bounty hunter. And there's an 1877 U.S. Supreme Court case that allowed bounty hunters to be very effective. And it worked. I think 98, 99, close to 100% of the defendants actually, damn near all the time, wound up getting prosecuted eventually, and most of them pretty quickly. This stuff they have now does not work. It's crazy.
Okay.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Dana. Thank you, Peter.
Appreciate you, lovely. Um, and let
Thank
me
you.
just let people know, because if you spoke and you notice I dropped you down to listener, because I'm making room for people who are requesting to come up. So I just don't want people to get offended. The Great Debate, Ellis, Caesar, Immortal, Gibson, Live JD, Two Rottes or Two Rot. So go ahead, The Great Debate. Is he still up here?
Yes, I am. Hello, everybody. Hello,
Hi.
Judge Joe Brown. Peter. Um,
Good to see
I
you.
have a quick question.
Okay.
I have a quick question for you, Judge Joe Brown. I was raised with a black man in your similar profession in the criminal justice field, and I was wondering, as a younger black man in his 30s, what would you tell the youth today to how to move forward as a group to get the results that we haven't seen in 70 years? And after that question, I have one more.
Actually, it wasn't bad in the late 60s. We were headed somewhere until we got caught up in this glorification of dysfunction, and then it went downhill very quickly. And a lot of the problems we have right now is because our acculturation and socialization deems us, it has us looking at what faces us as hopeless. It's not. But you have to do your part by being sufficiently educated in what's going on, how it works, and what its purposes are. You see, being a citizen is a lot like operating or driving a motor vehicle. To get the motor vehicle driver's license so you're legal, you have to study the handbook and learn the rules and be able to physically operate the motor vehicle. There's a thing called the Constitution of the United States, and that is basically the handbook to operate yourself in today's society. Nobody reads it, but everybody reads the handbook for driver's licenses, at least scans through it to pass the driving, not the driving, but the written test. And it's 10, 15 times as long as the Constitution. The Constitution in a pamphlet is maybe 10, 12 pages max. It'd take a high school graduate maybe 15, 20 minutes to read the whole thing. But we don't. And we just base a lot of what we do on absolute ignorance because we have never taken the time to read it. And as a matter of fact, I can't even get on lay people. It seems that over the last 40 to 50 years, every survey, every bar association has taken, only about 25% of the practicing lawyers and the sitting judges have actually read the Constitution. They may have studied aspects of it in school, but they haven't read the whole thing. So, I mean, it's just absolute laziness. But study that Constitution and you'll get some clues as to how it works. And then read up on philosophy and get the idea that humans are what we are. And we're not perfect, so we can't have a perfect system because there's no perfect engine to manipulate or run a perfect system. So we do the best we can. And what we have in comparison to what they have in other places is not bad. A lot of people like to go to France, right? Go to Paris, fun, go down to the Riviera. But there's an interesting thing about French law. If they arrest you in France, you are presumed guilty until you prove yourself innocent. How about that? That's not so bad when you compare what they do in the United States. In Mexico, a lot of that depends on who you know, how much money you got, what your connections are, and if you live long enough to get to trial. So, I mean, it's interesting. In China, people that would make $2 or $3 million on a book deal writing about what they did, they get put on a wall and shot. It's different. I
And
pass the mic.
and Judge, one more question. Over the later years, I've been seeing a lot of a lot of my black peers extremely lazy, undisciplined, and unfocused. Would you say that um, white supremacy is the problem, or is it the passive aggressiveness of the of us chasing what we should have in this country?
White supremacy is a propaganda tool to get you to take yourself out of the equation. As,
Thank you for that.
as Muhammad Ali said, when he was talking about propaganda, my late brother, Cliff Stewart of Los Angeles, California, was his bodyguard, introduced him to one of his wives for a number of years. I spoke with Ali, and Ali said, "You know what? I psych my opponents out. I get them more worried about what I'm going to do to them than they get to think about what they can do to me." So when you get off into white supremacy, you get caught up in this mythology of what they're going to do to you rather than what you can do to make things right for yourself. It's a psych game. I studied propaganda for a whole year at UCLA a long time ago. I had a person that actually was in charge. It was a Soviet professor. She was visiting. She was a good communist, but she was here as a guest of the U.S. government. And she actually had been in charge of propaganda for the KGB. That's the folk that James Bond was always going up against, the counterpart of the CIA. And as she said, one of the main engines or mechanisms, not engines, main mechanisms of propaganda was to get your target to think as though he were helpless in the face of what you might do to him. even though that's not the truth. All he had to do was get the right mindset, and he'd be a dangerous opponent himself. So, white supremacy is a trick bag that is developed over the last 50 years as a propaganda ploy used by mainstream media and the entertainment industry to get black folk feeling like they are so oppressed that there's no hope unless the oppressors cure the problem that they're causing. Politics never works that way. You have to compel the ending of a problem, not depend on somebody doing you a favor in doing it. Politics is not about what you get given through politics. It's about setting up a platform that allows you to get what you wish to get through your own efforts. That's something most people don't know.
Okay.
God
And
damn.
Judge, what about useful idiots? What role do useful idiots play in
Yeah, I
this?
don't get a
Useful
lot of time.
useful idiots make everybody waste a whole lot of time dealing with them. It's like politics isn't composed of fundamentally dishonest people. There are some very dishonest, crooked people involved in politics, and they so corrupt everything that everybody's got to deal with them on a certain nasty level in order to put them in check.
Okay. I need to go to Ellis. Is Ellis still up here?
Thank you for the answers, Judge Joe Brown. That was perfect. I appreciate you for all your hard work. My father's 4 years younger than you. He's a lieutenant, so I'm a conservative. I grew up off a lot of the things that you said is 1,000% correct, and I appreciate you for everything that you said.
Thank you.
All right. I don't see Ellis Caesar.
Appreciate it. Sorry, I came here probably like an hour and a half ago or so. So I just wrote down a few things I want to touch on. Earlier, I heard someone say, "But we have the power to vote." But do you actually? If you want to think the voting system's all legitimate, you don't get to pick who you're voting for. Two fucking candidates are just thrown to the top.
No,
Don't say the F.
don't do that.
Okay,
Data
apologize
puts
for
this on YouTube, and if you're not into the mainstream rainbow cult thing, they jack you up for using that. So chill on that.
Okay, sure. Yeah,
Go
sorry
ahead.
about the F bomb. Also, I heard we need to vote out bad people, but to me, I'd say good luck with knowing who the bad people are. I think the truth is a very hard thing to find these days, especially a lot of the issues that you guys would argue about. It seems like you'll never get to the bottom of the truth, and like you were saying, it's just kind of what the useful idiots do to distract people. But you guys spent a lot of time yourself on that. My question about the government to people who think they know how it works is why are there two parties though? Shouldn't they both be working to make civilization better? Why does it have to create a divide between people? That
Okay,
like
I'll
one
explain
person's in
that
control now
easier.
and they get to do what they want for 4 years. Do you think that's
Okay,
fair?
Well, Caesar, let him answer the question.
that's by intent.
Well, it wasn't a
This
question,
is
especially not for the judge. Sorry.
I'm gonna here. Let me explain that. I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. The United States is not a democracy. It never was intended to be a democracy because the people that set it up viewed a democracy as an evil. The elected officials are selected in a democratic fashion, but they're not expected to govern in a democratic fashion. California had a proposition about 20 some years ago that was in Los Angeles, and they wanted the citizens to vote on all city contracts. And I can just see the citizenry voting knowingly on a 29-page formal contract between an energy supplier and the city of Los Angeles in supplying power to some street traffic signals out in the San Fernando Valley. That would be absolutely ridiculous because the people didn't have the competence. The system is set up as a republic wherein the democratically selected officials run the place, and they are put up for either returned office or being turned out of office every 2, 4, or 6 years, depending, or 8 years, depending upon their term. Now, that's the way we work. This is not a democracy.
Great. I never really said it
So,
was. But that's fine. I don't need a history lesson or your thoughts on how politics work. Just to be clear
no,
for the future.
well, but you have to do with how it works.
But you're
Politics
assuming you
comes
know
into
more so than
play.
me on that subject, and you might
No,
not. So
no, no,
just
listen,
let a
listen, but
speaker
I do.
speak. If you care about freedom of
I
speech from
do.
the
I
Constitution,
do.
let me have my moment,
I
right?
do.
Or do you just
But
want
I'm
to
just
be one of those
answer
useful
your
idiots talking
question.
about a bunch of history that you think's legit?
Yeah, but I
There,
happen to have made some of it, and I've ruled on it. So you haven't done that,
I'd love
and
to see
I've been
proof of that,
upheld.
but it really doesn't matter
No,
in this
let me
stance. It's
explain.
about the message, not the
Let me.
messenger.
Stop, son. You sound ignorant because you don't know what you're
So
talking
I bet
about.
you're a
You have an
preacher more so than a
opinion.
judge. Why do we need labels though? If I
Both of
think
them.
abortion's bad, why does that automatically put me in a label
Well,
of
I'm
I
going to
agree with
give
all
you
this other
some
stuff in this
knowledge. I
party?
didn't say.
Where's the middle
I
ground where I
didn't
can pick and
say.
choose and be in the
Hold
gray?
on. I didn't listen. What was the term you just used?
I use several terms.
No, the one about the idiots.
Oh, I was basically saying you're doing a job of a useful idiot right now, just taking us all over the
But
place
you are
instead
being
of
the
giving freedom
useful
of speech.
idiot. You're being the useful idiot because hard-headedly you're not learning from the expert. You
But
were
you're not an
trying to
expert. I've
interject.
already said I
I
don't care
am an
about your history
expert.
lessons or your
I
supposed
am an
stance in
expert.
society. You have no
I
idea who
am
I
an
am.
expert.
So don't
I
assume about
don't
well,
me.
know
stop
who
chimping
you
out.
are. Don't care. You're
Stop
not
chimping
as
out.
old as me. You haven't met the people I've met, including U.S.
I don't
presidents,
want to,
vice
and if I did, it would be
presidents,
worse for them than it would be
chiefs
for
of
me.
state. Excuse me. I also have a doctorate degree. Do you have one?
Do you have proof of
Now,
that? Could I see
next
it?
thing,
Could I see what you had a doctorate in and then quiz you on it? Because I probably know that subject better than yourself. So let's
oh,
get to the
you're
bottom of it
acting a
right
fool.
now.
You're acting a
But you
fool.
won't tell
Now,
me what it's in. You won't
you
prove it.
you you
And you won't let me
you
quiz
want
you
to
because
No,
keep
just
you're
talking?
a useful idiot.
You're
keep quiet.
showing in useful idiots characteristics right now. If you want to see politics, I would suggest you go to the local zoo. If you have a good one, go to the primate house and watch the chimps and the baboons, and you will see primitive politics, and you will be able to see what humans do on a more advanced level very clearly because it's the same. Anytime you have three or more people, you have politics. If you've got one on one, it's just being nice, or somebody can beat somebody's ass and impose it. If you've got three people, if you want something done, two of them are going to have to persuade the other one to join them, or one person's going to have to persuade one more person to join him, so it'll be two against one. That's what politics is about. Every single thing humans do on this planet involves politics. There's no getting away from it. Now,
Great.
it
That's a great opinion. So
except I have
to
a
address some other speaker,
let me put it this way. My opinion is different from yours. Even in a court of law, expert witnesses are entitled to give an opinion. Nobody else is allowed to. Experts, by dint of their education, their experience, their involvement in the subject matter,
what you just
are
said is false,
deemed,
though.
yeah,
More people are
well,
allowed to give opinions than the expert witnesses, right?
no, not they
The
aren't.
lawyer may
They
give
aren't.
an opinion on why he
No,
thinks
they
someone's
aren't.
guilty or not.
They
The
aren't.
defendant might talk about his opinion on certain matters. It's
Excuse
not
me.
just all black and white.
No,
I've been in
that's not what
courtrooms.
the law is. That's not what the law is. You cannot deliver an opinion in any American court on the ultimate issue in controversy. Now, let's get you. Do you know what that means? Well, that's the law that will impact you, any state in the union, if you get jacked up in front of a jury. Now, let's get back to this whole thing. An expert, by dint of his education, experience, etc., is allowed to state an opinion that can be considered by a 12-person jury as evidence. You can't. I can. That's the difference between us. Because what I'm speaking on now,
Actually, I
I'd be
can, but
allowed
thanks.
to testify as to some things, state an opinion as an expert. You can't. So
But
let's
like I
put
said,
it
I
that way.
could. So you really shouldn't assume stuff about people, and you shouldn't group in
Well,
all of
you
humanity
don't
into one
have
thing.
that,
You shouldn't
and you
generalize
are
so much.
one of
As a
those.
judge, you should
You're
be
one of
unbiased.
those. I'm being not biased. I'm just dealing with the
Caesar, what would you be qualified as an expert in? I'm
Being a
curious.
conflictionist.
well.
Yeah,
That's all
so
it
I
is.
Several
gotta move
fields.
on to the next
Excuse
speaker.
me, if
But
you
so I
ask,
didn't get any speaker
if
time and
you
just judge took
ask,
over me.
Well,
I
if
didn't
first
even
you
of
get to
all,
say
ask
you
anything.
kept
a
asking him a
boorish
question. He
fool,
answered it
I said I don't
with
want to
wait a
speak to
respect.
the
minute, wait,
judge.
wait,
I'd
wait,
like to
wait,
address
wait. I'm
another
going to tell
speaker,
you
but this
what,
guy's obsessed with
excuse me,
me.
excuse me. I'm not upset with you. You're just being foolish, son. Now, you asked me what have I ever testified formally as an expert on in front of more than one jury. I'll give
I
you,
didn't ask you that.
I will tell
Don't
you
put words in
what,
my mouth.
excuse me.
As a judge, you shouldn't be putting
No,
words in
no,
people's
excuse
mouths.
me. Let me finish. I'm the one that people want to hear, not you. So the
Are you sure
deal
about
is,
that?
yeah,
Have you
I
ever had a
am.
big following?
Yeah.
What's the biggest following you've ever
All
had?
right, what is your
Let's
question?
see.
Because
Right
I need to
now,
no no
hold
no.
on,
I
hold
need to
on,
go to
hold
other
on, hold on,
speakers.
hold on. Stop.
Stop. No,
Stop.
because it's too much of
Stop.
an
Let
interruption.
me
If he
finish.
asks you a question, let
Let
him
me
answer it
finish.
and stop
Let
interrupting so
me
I can move on to the next
let me
speaker.
Okay,
I
let
didn't
me
have a
you're
question. I
Well,
have a
then
few
interrupting
things
me.
I
drop
want to
down.
say, and
What
this
are you
guy's getting in
talking
my
for then?
way.
What are
Okay,
you
Could I have
talking
the
for?
you
I
mic
don't
for
want
freedom of
to. I
will
don't
speech?
need to
you
hear
shut
the
the
dialogue of
hell up
stupidity
and god
going back
damn
and
it, you
forth
sound
because
like a
it's
bunch of
not going
hens in
anywhere.
a hen
You
house.
asking him a question. That's why he's talking because he's answering it. Like,
Now,
come on. Like, I don't have time for this dumb shit.
okay,
All
now
right,
you
Immortal is
ask me a
next.
question.
No, he was being rhetorical, and it's like,
I
okay,
know,
I'm
but
gonna ask
stop,
him a
stop,
question.
stop,
So then,
stop, stop.
why
I'm
is
gonna
he
answer
answering
his
a
question.
question?
I'm gonna answer
What
his
question? Well,
question.
he judged. He said he didn't ask you nothing.
Excuse me, what have I ever testified? What have I ever been an
Why
expert
do
on?
you
I
why are you
testified
even
it.
stooping that
Will
low
you
to answer
let
that
me
question from
finish?
him?
Let me
Does it
finish.
matter?
It's simple enough. I have testified as an expert in ballistics in front of several juries, including one involving Martin Luther King. All right, that's one thing. Two, when you talk about following, Nielsen said after I retired that I had their record for being the most watched single person syndicated show in the United States. Out of all of the people, if you're not including a formal pro sports game, there were more people that watched me in a 10-day period than any other syndicated show on television. I was number one or two with Judy. We were beating the devil out of Oprah, Phil, and everybody else, everything going for 5 years. And then I decided to retire
All
after
right, can we? I
15.
need to
So
get to
you
another
ask me what
speaker.
kind of following it
I'm not going to
is,
sit up here and
I
have you
would
explain
say,
yourself to that
there you
person.
go.
Let's go. I want to get to the
Now,
next speaker. Immortal, you're next.
oh, God, and do what? This was interesting.
Immortal is
I
next.
Okay, Immortal's cool. I like Immortal. Go ahead. Go ahead. You there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Immortal, you're
Yes,
up.
sir. I like you too, Judge. So greetings to the lovely and talented Dana. Greetings to the honorable Judge Joe Brown. And hello to you too, Peter. And so y'all have covered a lot of ground since I've been in here. Oh, Lord. I really wanted to talk about the law a little bit. And I think Judge Joe Brown kind of touched on what I wanted to touch on. Like he pointed out that there there was a lawyer that didn't even know that his client was the one who could have asserted the stand your ground defense. And you'll find that often. You'll find incompetence running rampant in the legal system. Judge O'Brien is one of the few judges or anybody in the legal profession that actually knows what he's talking about. A lot of them rely on professional courtesy and things of that nature, and it's a mess. So what you need to do as a United States citizen to even this out, and I hear my brothers and sisters, and look, they against us. They are against us, and they are oppressing us, and all this. And you're right. I agree with you. But the one thing about the laws in the United States is that the Irish don't really like the British, and the British don't really like the French. And the French don't really like the Spaniards, and the Spaniards don't really like the Italians. And you can go all the way around in a circle all over Europe. The Germans, the northern Italians don't like the southern Italians. The mainland in Italy don't really like Sicily. So here you have these different ethnicities come to get together with each other,
Hello?
and they come together with each other. Can you hear me? Can I be heard?
You dropped out for a moment there. I don't know if
Let me
anybody else heard that.
We can hear you now more.
is this better? Is this better?
Yeah, we can hear
Okay.
you.
All right.
Yeah, we can hear
So
you.
they come together in this country, and now we have this set of laws. And the only reason that you can get justice in this system is because they will cut each other's throats if they don't uphold this system. That's why they say justice be done in the legal system. This is one of the maxims: justice be done though the heavens may fall. That's what they're telling you. No matter what, uphold this principle or this law, because if you don't, one of your own dominant society members is going to use it against you. So therefore, with that being the case, I wanted to tell you you have to learn the law. Just like a lot of people, they big on financial literacy. What do you do with your money? Well, if you get $1 million in the lottery, what are you going to do with it? Well, if you get a court case, if you get a civil case, now you got to sue somebody. What are you going to do with it? You need to understand the law. And the more you understand the law, the better off you'll be. Prosecution. I sat up and watched the prosecution for Trayvon Martin, half-heartedly put on. The prosecutor wasn't really
Mm-hmm.
trying to win that case. And you have to
Mm-mm.
understand the law to know what he was doing and what he didn't do. Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was innocent when he went to jail. Go watch the case. Mike Tyson's lawyer might as well have been the prosecutor. He made no
Mike
objection.
Tyson's lawyer didn't know what the hell he was doing, and a certain somebody got that lawyer precisely because he didn't know what he was doing. And what wound up happening was Don King ripped off Mike Tyson's bank account when he went to jail.
Yeah, it was a backstory on that, Judge. I know you know a lot of it too. But the point I'm trying to make is, if you go back and watch, Mike Tyson's lawyer was standing there saying bad things about Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's lawyer didn't
Mm-hmm.
didn't make any objections to anything the other side do. You had on the other side, I believe I remember the lawyer for the prosecution testifying. That doesn't go in court, but it will. A lawyer will stand up and that's against court. Lawyer, let me give you an example. Lawyers can't testify. You weren't there. You don't know the actually. You didn't witness anything concerning the case. Everything that you hear is hearsay. So why are you testifying? And if you are going to testify, and if you do have some firsthand knowledge of something, then you need to be sworn in and put on the stand. And
And not
and
be the
not.
lawyer. Amen. You're right straight up and down, accurate on what you're
Yeah.
saying.
So when you got an attorney like that who's not going to make any objections. Objections means I object. Uh, Counsel is testifying. Then the sitting judge is going to say something like he's going to say sustained or overruled. If he sustain it, your objection, then that means whatever that lawyer just got through saying is stricken from the record. If he overrule your objection, then what that lawyer is going to say is going to stay in the record, but you've preserved your argument for appeal. I'll never go into court.
And one little extra too. The judge, if he's on his job, will charge the jury this way. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, statements and remarks of counsel are not evidence and are not to be considered as such. They are simply efforts to get you to understand the law and the effect of the evidence, but they are not evidence in and of themselves. So if any matter has been ruled upon as improperly presented by a lawyer as though it was evidence, you are instructed to totally disregard it.
Yeah,
As such.
that's what good judges will do. But a lot of these, just like these lawyers, a lot of these judges are don't know the law. Let me put it a little nice about it.
Well, let me put it to you this way. Would you believe that I am aware of some judges sitting on, say, the criminal bench who have never had a criminal case as a lawyer. I'm aware of district attorneys that couldn't even find where the criminal justice system was, who are the new DA, but they've never been in a criminal court. I am aware of certain people that are held out as nationally prominent lawyers, have tried either few or no cases in front of a jury. See, lawyers at one point were prohibited from advertising. You had to have your reputation spread by word of mouth. In other words, your deed spoke for you. Then, since lawyers are citizens, they had their rights, they were allowed to advertise. Now you have people holding themselves out as fine lawyers with slick ads who don't know what they're doing because they do not have the experience. How would you like going into a doctor's office you'd been referred to, and you're supposed to have this guy treat you for something special, and then you find out he's never been an intern nor a resident, and everything he's gotten is straight out of a book with no practical application? There are a lot of lawyers like that. There are a lot of judges like that that don't have a large breadth of experience. They're not learned and wise in the law, in the practice of law, and wise in the ways of the world. They're not.
Now, what
So the system
I do
suffers.
want to say that you find it better. It gets better once you get to appellate courts and above. They are a little
Sometimes.
sometimes, yeah, but I find more often than not. But if you have to go above the appellate court, my whole point of bringing all this up is you have to have a basic understanding of the law if you want it to work for you. It's a lot of
Yes.
people in jail. It's a lot of innocent people in jail because they didn't understand the law. They either had a lawyer that was incompetent or otherwise ineffective. And it's just like anything else. If you don't know what a bank account is or how they work, I suggest that you learn that before you go put your money in a bank. Before you ever talk to that bank teller, you need to do some research. Before you ever go hire that lawyer, you need to do some research on the laws or whatever you're dealing with. So much for the law. Let's get more embraced into the law, and then we can take our country, the command of our country, in a better way. For example, I wanted to get away from the law, but let me give you an example of the power of the citizen. In Missouri, the prosecuting attorneys of whatever county or district that they're in, they have they prosecute at their pleasure. If a case comes before them, they do have the power to refuse to prosecute it. They're supposed to have consideration. They're supposed to look it over and review. But ultimately, in most cases that don't have any statute saying they must be prosecuted, then the prosecuting attorney can say they don't want to do it. Well, there's also a Missouri statute saying that you, as a citizen, can prosecute crimes as a special prosecutor. Now, there's risks to that. Either you know what you're doing and you can go in there and prove your case against that person, and there's a whole procedure for it, and you will be a special prosecutor. And if you win your case, then that person's probably going to jail or whatever sentencing that they're supposed to get. And if you lose your case, then you're about to be on the hook for all the expenses that person incurred. If they found not guilty, then you have to pay, their lawyer fees, anything they had to pay. You're gonna have to, and you might have to pay over and above that. So it's not a thing that's that grant you free reign, but you can do it if you know you got somebody dead to rights, and you know how to prove it in court and what the court requires, and you have it all put together. You can present it and prosecute these people. I've done it.
So here's the thing. Are you done, Immortal? Because I need to go to the next speaker.
I don't want to get into the white supremacy thing and tell you how that nuclear ship sitting up on top of the planet, that's white supremacy. The dollar is reign supreme because these white folks say so, because they not because of my mentality, not because of how I feel about white people and how they feel about me. No, because they got a missile submarine sitting up there to turn this whole thing to ash.
Let me ask you one question.
That's white supremacy.
Who's the richest person? Who's the richest person to ever be a U.S. president?
I don't know. I don't know.
Barack Obama.
Barack Obama.
Well, Barack Obama is not his own person, and he's never been his own person.
No, 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 no,
That's
no.
not his
That's
point.
not. That's not where we're going with this. Barack Obama's adoptive stepdaddy, who adopted him, was one of the richest men on the planet Earth. He was an oil tycoon in Indonesia. When he died, he left his entire estate to Obama and his two half siblings. Each got an equal share. So the third year out of office, Business Insider revealed that he got a $1.25 billion disbursement from his share of the trust fund, out of which he had a net gain of $570 million. So he is very, very rich, and since it's an Indonesian fund, it's not subject to American law. So the richest person to ever be U.S. president at least looks black.
All right, I need to
That's
Well,
get to the next
interesting.
speaker.
okay, next.
Thank you, Immortal. Let me just say this: each piece, I will give you 10 minutes max. That's if you have questions. That's if you want to go back and forth with the judge. Whatever it is, 10 minutes. I'm not going over that because there are other speakers that have been waiting, and I'm not trying to be here all night. So we have Gibson live, Two Rod, El Hotep, Ricky, the Black. So go ahead, Gibson. Gibson.
You're up.
Gibson. Gibson. Gibson.
Hey, do
Unmute
you see?
yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry, followers. I have to put you in there. Go ahead, live. You are so it's followers then the black. Go ahead, live. JD, is he still up here? No. Two Rod.
Appreciate you, Dana. Appreciate you, Peter. Appreciate you, Judge. Judge, I've been following you and Miss Dana for a long time, probably since the beginning of the pandemic. So every time I hear you
Okay.
talk, every time I hear you talk, in my mind, I'm saying, so what is the actual solution? What's the solutions, right? No, I'm hearing you say, basically our judicial system and our criminal justice system is broken and it's being purposely sabotaged. So is the solution, because you keep saying it over and over again towards people, and some people not catching it, our emotions and our feelings get in the way of understanding constitutional rights, civil rights, and community. Is the solution is we have to collectively come in as a community, protect our community, and protect our constitutional rights. If we don't do it, then the law and so forth step in to bring order. So as a
Well
collect,
said.
so as a collective community, we have to play the game. You saying it's a game that we play, and it's the easy way to
Well
do
said.
it. The easy way to
Well
do it
said.
is protect our community collectively, which is local, state, and constitutional. So as we do that collectively, because our country is being broken, and they doing this on purpose, do we have to follow the money of the approach of the county, the districts, the corporate inner cities, the chamber of commerce, and then the government funding through this to fight and expose these leaders that's purposely sabotaging these things, like how you say the Democratic and the liberals are purposely doing these things to compromise everybody as civilians, citizens, and even pushing immigrants and people from other countries to, make everybody go against each other through uneducated nonsense and uneducated social diaspora. Is that the actual solution that you keep saying and nobody want to hear that? And that's the only solution that we got to take back our communities, and we got to do it as being rightful, righteous human beings. Is that
Yes,
correct?
that's basically what I'm saying. It's a little more complicated than that, but you have the basics of it all. It's like another thing too. Uh, I played football in college, but I was no good playing basketball. All right. There's some things I do and some friends I have that are very good in economics. They can work the intricacies of a stock exchange. They are allowed to do it. They are permitted on the floor. I can't do that, but they can. I know a little bit about it from talking to them and studying it, but they're experts in it. So we need those experts, but when they have information, knowledge, and experience that the rest of us lack, we're kind of at their mercy, but there's no alternative. So what we have to do is have wisdom that we acquire through life and figure out what's going on so we can at least understand what we're looking at. You mentioned something about the criminal justice system. I'll say something very briefly about that. Problem with the criminal justice system is not the system per se, it's what it's doing. It's very good at what it does, but that's not to fight crime. Our economic system, as we establish it, has a negative fallout, and that is uh, it has nothing in place that takes the obsolete worker and makes him fit to be productive in a new world of economic reality. We take industrial technology and computerization, and we've made a whole lot of people obsolete, so they're surplus to the workforce. So, what do you do with a surplus entity? You store it. What do you do with the people that would produce the entity? You subsidize them so they don't. You cut back production. We put our surplus in a jail cell instead of a warehouse or grain silo. The subsidy is the assistance check that people are taught to rely upon to their detriment. And the cutting back of production is what you put in their heads, psyching them out so they drop out, bang out, drug out, get knocked up too early, too often, do not have vocational skills, do not have academic foundations that allow them to move into this business and economic world that they have to exist in. They make where they live islands of chaos so they cannot cooperate on a large scale basis and engage in effective politics. So it works out well for people. The criminal justice system is not about controlling crime, it's about storing or getting an excuse to store surplus labor. That is, people who are surplus to the labor requirements of the country, the state, the county, or the city or township. And that is one of the things that requires that you get into it, just like you do when you're studying whether or not your favorite player in such and such game is efficient or better than somebody else or who the real GOAT is.
So with that said, it's basically operated to make profit off of ignorance.
Well, it doesn't have to be, but that's an effective way of doing it because a lot of people just aren't interested. They get up in the morning, they go to work, they do what they're doing, they turn their minds off because they work on, say, a production line or in a warehouse, which is one of the dullest things you can do, one of the most boring things in life for a lot of people to do, and they just turn off and they don't think. They come home and they want relief from the boredom, and they've been doing it day after day. They get what they get gratuitously on TV at a sports event or a concert, and they feel happy about it. And other people have become experts in manipulating that, and they get a lot of profit. So what you have in the United States is a system where 5% of the population benefits from 95% of the wealth, and 3% of the American population control 95% of the wealth, and 95% of the people in the country split the remaining 5% of the country's wealth. It's crazy because nobody's interested.
Appreciate you, Judge. Appreciate you, Dana. I wish you could give me a follow back because you always consistent on bringing community, to understand what our approach should be. Thank you as well, Peter.
I appreciate
Appreciate
you. I just followed you back. I don't know. I guess the judge, you could follow him back as well. Is El
I'll
Hotep still here?
I'm having phone problems, so I'm lucky to still be on, let alone
Okay. So El
navigating through. But
Hotep,
if you get me, I'll follow you back.
I don't see El Hotep. Ricky, is Ricky still here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so is Ricky? Who is this? The followers, the black. If he's still up here, and sway me. Go ahead, Ricky.
Hey, good evening, Dana. Good evening,
Good
Judge. Hope everyone's doing
All
good.
right.
All right. I just had a few comments, and then this based on this for you, Judge, based off of the class that you had back in when you were studying at UCLA regarding propaganda. Um, yeah, I got a few comments. So, I mean, I see propaganda as dangerous because it manipulates truth and it distorts the public perception. So, with that, it prioritizes like persuasion over accuracy to serve like the interests of those in power. And then when you have people appealing to emotions such as fear, pride, or anger, like it influences people to accept beliefs and behaviors that may undermine their own well-being. So, like with propaganda suppressing dissent by like it discrediting opposing views, it shows like it polarizes societies by framing issues with like saying us versus them, terms conditions individuals to normalize harmful ideologies through like the repetitions. And I
All of
know you
that's
mentioned that
true.
before. So
Those are
with that,
methods. Those
yeah,
are methods.
exactly. And then with the propaganda, I feel like it's dangerous because it compromises the ability of individuals and societies to like distinguish fact from manipulation. Then on top of that, it makes them vulnerable to exploitation and control. And that, with that being said, Judge, my question for you is, or like, what's your thoughts on how can an average American approach propaganda and make a decisive decision about it?
Propaganda is not always a bad thing. There are two aspects to this situation. One is called xenophobia. We've had people touch on xenophobia tonight without calling it that. That's the typical human reaction to something strange or different. They don't like it. So it's inescapable since it's part of human nature. That is a driving engine. The other thing about propaganda, well, let me give you the other side to it. Causing a child or a convert to believe in a religion, a cult, or anything is almost exclusively a propaganda process. You take the methods of propaganda and you take the child or the new convert or the person you're trying to convert, you apply them to that individual and they become a true believer. So a lot of people would approve of that because it pushes their religion or their cult or their philosophy or their spirituality. Others might not. So, what is good for one person isn't necessarily good for everybody, but humans are supposedly intelligent, not so much from tool making or survival, but because of the intense complications of interpersonal relationships. That's what a lot of anthropologists are saying. Now, that being the case, you're going to have propaganda. It's inevitable because propaganda is essentially, in one part, persuading somebody to have a certain outlook on something. Next thing is once you have a method of persuading somebody, you must cause them to not only embrace that, but to firmly believe in that or to push that. That's what propaganda does. With that
Wouldn't your
said,
moral compass eliminate propaganda though? Like, you know,
well,
what's right is
no,
right, what's wrong is
because
wrong.
your moral compass is pushed by propaganda. In other words, boys and girls, good citizens, all, this is what we do. We should be ethical with our fellows. We should stand up for what is right. We should impose public peace, dignity, and order and make where we live a better, safer, more secure place, etc., etc. When you tell somebody that, the telling becomes a process of propaganda. And if you tell them often enough that that's what they ought to be doing, a lot of them will come to believe it, or if they don't believe it, they will have an opinion. Yeah, that's pretty much classically right. I can buy that. And if you tell it long enough and loud enough, you can get most anybody to believe it, even if you're lying to them. But you see, the truth
I,
has a
I
way
would
of
say a judge more of
realizing.
moral compass is like universal law, the things that's
Yeah,
been
well,
created in
that's
front
it.
of us.
That's it. Exactly. And we spread moral law by a process of propaganda. Somebody, the preacher, the rabbi, the imam, the priest, the shaman, the witch doctor, the elders of the tribe, they spread the word to others. That is a process of propaganda. But we think of propaganda in a negative fashion because we typically are used to it from what happened in the 20th century, where you had the National Socialist Workers' Party and the Fascisti, National Socialist Workers' Party, the acronym is Nazi. And we had the Communist Party, who artfully engaged in propaganda, and they convinced generations of people that what they were pushing was the right thing to push. And guess who all of these entities studied extensively as the best propaganda engine in the whole world? It was the American movie industry.
So you
So,
basically saying domesticated society
I'm sorry.
nah,
Who
became
was
that's,
it? I'm
became
sorry.
better.
Was this Ricky turn to speak?
he's
Was
still
Yes,
was
ma'am.
going.
Rick?
I'm
He was the
still
one
on.
that asked me
Was Ricky?
questions.
Yeah.
He's going.
Now it's a conversation between two Rock, but I have other speakers. So Ricky, were you done speaking?
Well, I think I
Uh,
answered his question. He was commenting on it.
yeah. So yeah. So Judge, I appreciate your insight on your views with that because I mean I traveled outside the U.S. I traveled to multiple countries in all over Europe and Asia, and it just amazes me on how like propaganda is used and like it can swindle someone to do or have a certain opinion and then they just taking a run with it. So just having a simple one-on-one conversation and be like, hey, like what do you think about this? And then hey, they either blow up on you or they look at you a certain way and they find it because they either take offense, not nothing religion related or anything like that. It's just, hey, this is how we're engineered. And I feel that word engineered is a powerful word to use in relation with propaganda. But all in all, hey, I appreciate your insight with that. It's just something I've always been thinking about every time I travel to another country. Dana, thank you for your time. Peter, I appreciate it. You guys have a good evening.
Hey, thanks for the
You
remark.
too. Thank
Appreciate you.
you. All right. I
You
need to
were
get
on point.
to. I need to get to its followers, Sway Me, Lemur, and Abu, and then that's it. We're gonna close out. So go ahead, followers.
Dana, great space. Peter,
How
what's
are
up,
you?
man? It's all
Good to see
good.
you.
Hey, what's up, Judge O'Brown? I'm back. You
All
probably don't
right.
remember me, but it's good to be in the space with you again. I've always wanted to ask you a question. I won a lawsuit, okay? I dropped it in there, beat $1 billion organization. They underestimated me. We was able to resolve the case. I'm under gagged. I can't talk about who it is, but the fact that you know that I'm under gagged, that means that I must have got him for a significant amount because I'm gagged. I want to see whether or not you and I are on the same astuteness of something that I'm noticing. I'm glad that I'm following Ricky because Ricky actually tied into what I was going to say when he kind of led to the propaganda. Color construct this country implemented it. It's a propaganda. Make America Great Again is a propaganda. Is These are all things that are part or under the hegemony. And when I heard you, man, you said it better. I got beat up yesterday telling someone that white supremacy is a thing that you keep putting in front of you. Ain't nothing real about it. It's only real because you make it real. And you eloquently said it to the same people who beat me up. I'm not even gonna call their name, but the fact that it was like no accident for me to be in the same space to hear you eloquently tell them racism and white supremacy is a propaganda or a hegemony, okay, that you make real. So thank you for doing that. That question I want to ask you, do you believe Freeman, the Freeman status, okay, that I believe that should have been probably the proper status for Negro, Black, and African Americans, or whatever terminology. If Abraham Lincoln would not have been assassinated, Freeman status would probably have been the terminology for the emancipated. Do you believe that that term could potentially become something that can strike down color? And do you believe that President Trump may have, since he's a Republican, well, he's not really. I didn't like. He's a registered as a Republican. I don't think he's a true Republican anyway. But do you think that he may be the right president to help us put the Freeman status down and potentially strike down color? That's 400 years sin that's been in this country for as long. Do you think that Trump might be that president?
Yeah, I think he is. He's the first one that's been a real true executive in a long time. He's a man of power, and that's what we've lacked. We've had too many figureheads that are just out there with somebody behind them is running stuff. Um, I'd say this. We can do anything we put our minds to doing, but too often there are too many engines of distraction, so we don't do that, if that makes sense.
Oh, I think you're being very kind. I know exactly what you.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I'm an ex-military guy. I can recognize somebody who's being very kind because you're not normally that kind. You intentionally was kind for a reason. Okay,
Yeah. Now,
so
let me lead off on that, the military thing. If you analyze what an effective DI in the Marine Corps does to whip his recruits into effective Marines, or sergeant in the Army to make them grunts or whatever it may be, it's very similar to what the Roman legions did 2,000 years ago. It's very similar to what Napoleon did with his armies. It's very similar to what the Prussians did for their armies. And it works because it deals with a carefully studied thing called the human being. And people don't want to deal with the fact that there are some methodologies that may be out of favor because they don't fit with somebody's political outlook, but they work on humans. I ran playgrounds, was a school teacher, was a scoutmaster for 15 years. I dealt with training folk and other things in uniform, and it works. But people don't want to apply it because it's repugnant to their sensibilities now. So the propaganda has gotten their sensibilities screwed up. We need reverse propaganda to restore their sensibilities to functionality. Too much of what goes wrong today is the result of the glorification of dysfunction that the propaganda engines of entertainment, news, and communications have been pushing for their own purposes. We see that in the obvious contradictions and say what we look at with the rainbow. You can't put a Christian cross in a school. You can't put a Buddhist image of Buddha in the school. You can't put six-armed Shiva in there. You can't put the Islamic crescent. You can't put the Jewish star in there, but you can put rainbow. How is it that this 70-year period of getting formalized religion out of public schools and government institutions has been totally trampled upon, and a cult has been firmly imposed where it's taught to children and employees and it's forced upon them and nobody says anything? See, that's propaganda. And that's somebody pushing an agenda without people realizing it. So we have to be cautious and vigilant against such situations so we don't get them turning us into something we don't want to be.
So, Doc, I'm calling you Doc. You the master of wording. I'm just gonna go ahead and give you Doc. You did very well. So, what's your take on Freeman? What you think that becoming a
Freeman.
Freeman? Yes, sir. The
All right,
Freeman
this has to
Okay,
be the
status.
last question because I have to move on to
okay,
other speakers. Go
yeah,
ahead.
I
No,
got a
yeah,
very
that was
quick
it.
answer to that. Freeman is a dangerous phrase. Why? It assumes that somebody freed you. Nobody can free you, and you remain a free person because if you give a gift, you can take it away. You are only free if your condition of freedom is something that cannot be taken away because the ultimate bulwark against that is you're willing to die for it. Now, when you become a truly free person, you don't have to designate it because it becomes obvious by your condition. You don't have to advertise it. Somebody that's been pumping iron, bulked out, been taking a lot of martial arts and is knocking people out in mixed martial arts. He doesn't have to say anything about he's a martial artist. You can see it. He can keep his mouth shut and just kick ass. So that is my reaction to the term. I mean, I think it's a good term, but I think it's a dangerous term because it predisposes you to think like somebody freed you.
All right. Um,
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you, follow. Sway me, then Lamar, then Abu. Go ahead, Sway me.
Good evening, Dana, Judge Joe Brown, Peter. Now, Judge, I got a bone to pick with you with the freedmen. I'm not gonna go there, but it's a status via the government for what actually happened and aligns with the Constitution. So, again, nothing we have can be used for us. It's always dangerous. We use our hands and fight like men. It's still not good enough. We shouldn't be fighting. But I did want to come up here because I keep hearing we go back and forth between what I was raised with, what we call secular or the spiritual, right? And we know that, many laws, what I've learned, have come from, some of them have come from the Bible. So, for us as a Christian nation,
We're not a
and then
Christian
for,
nation.
oh, okay, well, in
Uh,
God we trust is all over the
yeah,
money.
but that's not
But
Christian.
anyway, okay,
I'll
we're not a Christian nation.
explain when I answer. Go ahead.
Okay, we're not a Christian nation. So, you know, uh, the spiritual, I heard the bishop up here earlier speaking about some things that are happening in America and why America's civilization is failing and falling. I agree with the bishop on that. The moral compass has been lost, and we see more and more people will align with the demonic evil spirits than the good beings that are fighting the evil amongst us. So, and then when you speak about the law, we know that the law has definitely been utilized against us, the freedmen. So I'm trying to figure out where is the balance, because when I read the works of my ancestors, of our ancestors, and even some of the works of the elders today, we as the freedmen have been in this paradigm or this matrix, whereas we have attempted on several occasions to do right, be righteous, and lead with a good heart
and not all of this evilness. And we keep getting knocked upside the head, told that we are blamed for even being good beings because you're victims. You're just victims. You're always a victim. But anyway, I have to put that in there. And so I'm like, how do we at this point in time, because we've been doing good things, how do we balance this?
Okay.
Because we've been fighting it for a very, very long time.
Okay.
Judge, can I respond to that?
Go ahead. Go ahead. I yield.
Oh, I don't know if anybody heard me though.
We
Well,
heard you. Can you hear us?
I didn't hear you.
Bishop, can you hear us? This space, Peter, you did bring it to my attention earlier. It's been kind of glitching. So he can't, we can hear him, but apparently he can't hear us.
I can hear you now. It
I
is
thought I was
glitchy.
following you,
Once it
Bishop.
gets over 100 people, it normally starts glitching.
Yeah, and if you noticed.
Yeah, if it's okay, Judge,
go
can I
ahead. Go right
respond to
ahead.
that?
Bishop?
Thank you. Sway me, the reason I didn't hear everything that you said. I caught bits and portions. But what I did hear is you said that we are good people. We're doing everything that we can in order to try to make things better, but we keep getting stepped on. And you're absolutely right. We are getting stepped on as Christians. We, as Bible believing Christians, are always going to be stepped on. That's what Jesus said. If they don't like me, they certainly aren't going to like you. And in my 30 years in the ministry, I have definitely come across that, not just with lay people, but also with the clergy. There's a lot of clergy that is just as evil as the secular side of our world and of our people. So what I want to say is this very quickly. You must continue to have faith. I know it's hard. I know that you see, it seems like we're being defeated on a regular basis. But I point you again to Donald Trump, the president. He had everything thrown against him from the secular side. He had everything on the evil side that was thrown up against him. But when God is on your side and God has a plan and he has something for you to do, it's going to get done. Now, it may not be in our time and what we want it to be. It may not seem as though it is working, but believe me, it is. And this is one of the reasons why I'm doing the sermon series that I'm getting ready to do about spiritual, doggone it, I can't even think now. The spiritual side of things. Okay, we have to stop thinking on the secular side as Christians. We have to start thinking spiritual warfare. Thank you. My wife came in, she heard me. Spiritual warfare. This is what we're doing right now. It's not the people that we're fighting. That's not the enemy. The enemy is Satan himself and the demons that are here. That's what we are fighting. People don't want to hear that. Jed said earlier, people don't want to, there's things that people don't want to hear. And the truth is the main thing that they don't want to hear. So don't lose your faith. Don't think that we are being defeated. We're not being defeated. I promise you that.
No.
Stay strong.
I know. I'm gonna just say this.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I know who I am. I know what my purpose is. I know I am touched by the higher power, right? So the thing is, though, we don't empower those that know what they're doing and walking in it and in strength with God. We don't even highlight them,
I just
right?
want you to know I cannot hear anything.
Well, I'm just saying, I heard you, but I hear you don't hear me.
Wait, hold on for a second. Bishop, can you hear me? Peter,
Bishop,
say something.
Can you hear anybody?
I'm gonna
Okay,
message him to drop down and come back up.
okay. Let me, since you asked me the question, ma'am. Article 6 of the Constitution says there are three aspects of the supreme law of the land. One of them is those treaties that have been ratified by the U.S. Senate. As a matter of fact, the very first treaty ratified by the U.S. Senate 230 some years ago was a treaty with France. The treaty read France, a good Catholic Christian nation, enters in this treaty with another Christian nation, the United States of America. The U.S. Senate sent it back and said, we cannot ratify this because the United States are not a Christian country. It respects Christianity, but it is not Christian. And they approved it with the codicil that they rejected that language that the United States was a Christian country. That might be of historic interest since obviously these people were in the 1790s and the Constitution had been a hot topic about that time, and they had, for the most part, participated in getting it passed and implemented. So they ought to know what they intended. Now, that's just a reality. But the question with Freeman is it's really in concept freedmen, Freedmen. And when somebody is freed, the next question is who freed them? And if there is an answer to that, the person that freed them, or the entity that freed them, or the group that freed them, controls the status of the people that they freed. If the people who are calling themselves freed men, in fact, are responsible for their own freedom, almost invariably they do not really address it because they think of themselves as the people, and the people are special to the people. It's kind of a interesting subconscious adaptation to a certain mindset that is not good.
I'm confused because, again, I'm going to go back to you're keeping us trapped, and as if we don't have
No,
any
nobody can
any.
keep you
Oh,
trapped.
no, 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 no. Just hear me out, Judge.
Go
Just hear
ahead.
me out. Just hear me out, right? Because the Supreme Court justices have said that the Constitution is race neutral. We now have beings immigrating to this country utilizing race and saying that they are us. Now,
So what?
the term freedmen separates us from everyone else in this country.
Have you ever heard of the First
We don't
Amendment?
want to be in with lumped in with everyone else in this country.
Nobody cares.
So, what? I'm sorry, repeat that.
Nobody cares.
Yeah, we care
What's
because
so? But the point.
I
Look.
care
The
because
point is
it's
this.
called self-preservation.
I know, but the point of the exercise is this: if you don't have the power to enforce by might makes right, nobody cares in human history. Nobody gives a damn.
Okay. So what are you saying? I'm
In
confused.
other
Because
words,
I'm really confused. What are
in
you
other
saying?
words,
No one
that's
cares.
no.
If
In
no
other
one
words,
cares, then
listen,
why is
listen.
everybody
No,
wanting to
everybody
be
isn't.
black?
Everybody doesn't want to be anything. Some people want to be certain things. Not everybody. Now, let me
Okay.
put.
Well,
Now,
we
I
know that
always.
majority of people right now, right? We know a majority of people right now know that the game plan in America is get rid of the black Americans,
Nobody
the
get
freedmen.
the rest
We
of the.
know that is the play.
Look.
We know this.
Hold on. You asked me a question. The reality is nobody gives a damn. We if we identify as freedmen, if we're black, we give a damn because we're directly impacted. Our out has been shown to us by the Japanese. You can kill yourself. You don't have to take it. You can always commit harikari, or you can be a kamikaze and take somebody out with your own suicide. A lot of freaks do that when they shoot up buildings and hallways and churches and schools and stuff like that because they want to commit suicide. Now, that choice is always there. If nobody wants to take it and they want to verbalize, we're freedmen, we have an exclusive right on it. We are here in America and they can't come in and take over what we've done. Well, you forget about the First Amendment. We've been talking about how important it is. Under the First Amendment, anybody can say anything they want to say. You can't do anything about it. We don't have any exclusive right to censor what somebody claims.
Okay.
So
So
how are
so
we
what
going to
wait,
sit
wait, wait,
there and
wait,
say,
wait, wait. I just
how are
want
we
to
going
follow
to
you. I want to
determine?
follow you. No,
We,
I want to follow you
I will
because
break it down
what I'm
again
hearing
for
you
you.
say, but I want to hear I want
Go
you
ahead.
to understand what's processing in my head when I heard you say this, what you just stated. Um, it doesn't matter what we call ourselves because we're still not free. And
Who
it
says
doesn't
you're not
matter.
free?
I mean, you said we don't have the power to. If we didn't.
That's
We
because
did fight for our freedom, though.
that's cause we choose not to understand what power we have, and we
Okay,
choose
okay.
not to
So,
exercise
so,
it
so I'm looking at freedmen as a
well,
power.
because wait a minute.
I'm
No,
looking at
freedmen,
freedmen
it's not a
as
power.
a
It's
power
not
we
a
have.
power. Freeman,
What is it?
the power you have is because you can cause one hell of an inconvenience for the whole system if you don't buy into something, especially if you're willing to die for it.
Okay, all right. Okay, so we've had people to die for it.
Did they choose to?
We've had people to march for it and die
Marching
for it.
doesn't do much of a damn thing.
So I'm like, I'm confused, Judge.
Marching doesn't do anything. That's a
No, no,
myth.
no, no, no. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
I know what you're
They
talking about. It's a
marched
myth.
only to not be violent, to show that
No,
to show the violence against them, right?
nonviolent marches haven't done a damn thing. I
No, no,
remember
no. But that was the motive behind the marches was to not be violent and not match the violence
that doesn't
because they
work.
wanted to show the world how much violence was
That
being put
doesn't
upon them,
work.
correct?
It doesn't work. You didn't get the Civil Rights Act of 1964. You didn't get the Voting Rights Act of 1968. You didn't get that for nonviolent demonstrations. I spent
Okay.
hours in the Library of Congress when I was an intern at a DC think tank going through 60 some thousand pages of the congressional record. Out of that 60,000, there were actually less than 5 pages that had anything to say about civil rights coming to the fore because of nonviolent demonstrations. They were almost exclusively concerned that a certain demographic of black people was burning on a regular basis the cities and urban areas of the United States, creating a lot of property damage on the same level that the United States Army Air Corps did to Nazi Germany in 1943 through 1945. That's what the discussion was about. They didn't give a damn about nonviolence. When they killed Dr. King and the FBI set that up, J. Edgar Hoover was for it. They provided the rifle, the ammunition, and the two-man hit team. The internal memoranda that had been out there for 35 years, not just through this release that came about a year ago or within the year. What it shows is they didn't give a damn about King and civil rights. They thought he might galvanize the anti-war movement and revitalize labor. Those were the subjects of all of these many internal memoranda in the FBI's uh, uh, pipeline, where they were discussing whether King would be more dangerous as a dead martyr or as alive somebody that would galvanize the anti-war movement and revitalize labor. They didn't mention one word about civil rights. Nobody cares. Because if you're down on your knees and somebody's beating the hell out of you until somebody else is feeling guilty about it, that's expurgation for one group of people and release for another, and you're not dangerous to society. Nobody gives a damn about you until you start posing a threat.
All right.
That is a reality of human nature.
Dana, can I say? Can I have about 15 seconds, real quick?
Okay.
Sway me again. You're talking about the secular side, and I'm a man of the spiritual side, and I understand and I know what will happen with prayer. The Bible also says to be shrewd. The Bible does not tell the Bible tells us that we are to be good citizens. But the Bible also says that there are times when we have to be shrewd. That's in the Bible. Now, how we use that shrewdness is also directed there. We have gotten away from the Bible because we've been infiltrated. The Christian church has been infiltrated by Satan, where we had family values years ago with Big Mom in them. That's all they had to, that's the only thing. They couldn't read, they couldn't write. Some of them could, some of them couldn't, but the majority of them couldn't. The only thing that they had was their faith in that word. And it was the faith in that word that got them through. They also understood who their enemy is. And the enemy that was back then is still the enemy today. And that's Satan. I wanted to get that out because I don't want you to get confused. Yes, we're going to have this battle until the day we die. It's always going to be here.
So why don't we just tell everybody right now, we live in hell. We're living in hell, people, and you got to get ready. You got to make sure that you know you living in hell.
Well, that's true. You're absolutely right about that.
Say it like that. Say it like that. Say it like that to the people.
But we do say that. We do tell people that.
Oh, you just said there's Satan and all of this. Just say we living in hell and we got to do some things to get out of this hell.
Okay, may I interject something, both of you?
Wait, but no, I need to go to the next speaker because it's getting late.
Okay, this isn't going to be long. You know what? We are in the throes. I don't know if it's Satan or the devil or evil, but there is something that is really corrupting this country's soul. Every single one of the religions I mentioned, every single aspect of spirituality, everywhere in the world pushes certain consistent moral values: duty, honor, obligation, responsibility, etc., except one. The Rainbow Coalition, the Rainbow Cult, pushes a negation of every one of those. You have no duty. Honor is obsolete. You have no obligations to anyone. Do your thing. There's no restraint. And it's based on self-hate. They don't like, to a great extent, what they are supposed to be, so they want to be something else. They won't abide by the standards. And that's what makes it so dangerous. It is the only organized, shall we say, spirituality, matter of principle, philosophy, cult that is out there, that is imposed by the mighty U.S. government, state governments, local and municipal governments. And it is a negation of every single precept and principle that every other formal religion or philosophy in the world has been pushing. And that's what's so dangerous about it.
All right, I don't know why we got into LGBT. It has nothing to do with what Swamy was saying, but
yeah, it's
let me go
spirituality and religion. I just commented.
Well, there are a lot of people who are gay that they're spiritual.
They don't have to push LGBTQ. We've talked to people in
there
the
are a lot of people who are gay don't push LGBT.
That's right. I said LGBTQ, not LGBTQ. I said the rainbow cult is a very
okay. You're talking
thing.
About rainbow cult, so you're talking about the oligarchs or the people in the top 1% or people
I'm
in
not
these
talking about the
political
1%.
positions that probably are hidden in the closet that are gay
I'm
and
not
want to push
talking
that
about
agenda
that.
for whatever reason. But your average gay person
I'm
is
not
not out here
I'm not
pushing a
saying
gay
gay. I
agenda.
didn't mention the
All
word
right, well,
gay.
I
I
want to
said
get off the gay.
rainbow
I really don't
coats.
give a shit. I want to
I'm
get
talking
off
about
of the gay
rainbow
topic.
in the
You
schools,
always
but
want
no
to insert
religious
that, but I
symbols.
want to get
Yeah,
off
that's
it and
what
go
is
to the next speaker.
messing us up. That's
Lamar.
what's messing
No, it's
us
a
up.
lot of other things messing us up
That's
besides
a
gay shit.
primary engine that is at the bottom. And when you do the trails and you
I'm
trace
not
the
doing no goddamn
pathways,
trails because
they,
a
well, you
trail
don't
could
have
lead you
to.
in
I
all
do.
different directions, and
No,
it's
they
not just
don't
a gay
lead.
one, it's a
They
whole
don't.
bunch of
No, it's
other
not
stuff as
gay. I
well.
didn't say gay. I said the
I don't
rainbow
care,
cult.
rainbow coat, whatever you're saying. It's a
You,
whole bunch
well,
of
all
different
right.
trails. It's not just
Okay,
one.
okay,
So
okay.
Lamar, it's Lamar and it's Abu, and those going to
Okay,
be the
you
two last speakers.
disagree.
So go
You
ahead, Lamar.
disagree,
You have
but
the
I don't.
floor.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Dana, Peter, Judge Joe Brown. Great to see you. I'll be quick. Dana,
You too,
I know
Lamar.
it's getting late in the evening. So to the propaganda point, I would say I'm intimately familiar with this because in my profession as an intel officer for the government, I did it. I did it in Europe to counter Russian information operations. But I would say I'll point you to two primary documents I think everyone should read. One, in the 1920s, there was a guy named Edward Bernays who published a book called Propaganda. He's considered the father of modern propaganda. He ended up having a very prominent career in marketing, but he was actually connected to the Dulles brothers, who ended up being the first directors of the Central Intelligence Agency. Um, the second thing I would ask everyone to read, and it would take a while. It requires a little bit of homework, but there's something called the Matrokin Archive. It's available online at themarshallcenter.com. And the Matrokin Archive is basically the KGB's what they called active measures. It's political ideological warfare against Western democracies from about the 1930s forward, and you can basically see their methodology and how they decided to attack the West. Why do I bring those up? I think just one small correction to what Judge Joe Brown said, respectively, is the United States actually learned information operations and propaganda from the Soviets because they had been conducting it significantly longer than we had. Um, in fact, post World War II, the United States changed, unbeknownst to the most majority of the public, with the National Security Act in the late 1940s, where you have the birth of the Central Intelligence Agency, you have the change of the Department of War to the Department of Defense, but it was, in full transparency, was a bit Orwellian. It was newspeak, where we took the playbook that we learned from our adversaries and we deployed it against two primary audiences domestically to make sure that the United States citizenry believed that we were the beacon on the hill, American exceptionalism, Pax Americana that goes all the way through JFK. But then our adversaries, so to the gentleman who spoke about his travels and how there's essentially two diametrically opposed information spaces, that was the goal. U.S. citizens are some of the least traveled people of the entire world. And because we're in this information silo in the United States of America, it's easy for our government to sell us this bill of goods. Now, I'm not making a judgment call about whether America is good or bad. What I'm speaking about is what's actually happening. Americans are largely, I would say, in the last 50 years, the most propagandized nation in the world. The rest of the world actually doesn't buy what we sell, which is why when you travel, there's this optic with respect to the United States. So I think it's just really important to understand that propaganda plays on two primary things, and Edward Bernays spells this out really clearly in his book in the 1920s. It's your psychology and the manipulation of shifting what you think are your wants. What you think are your needs are actually wants that are packaged for you. This is why he became so prominent in marketing, because the same psychological tools were used to basically convince you to go to the rush to the store and buy things based on ideas of exclusivity and fear of lost opportunity, all these types of things. The government employed these things to a degree to where it goes all the way through from identity politics to geopolitics. It's why if you were to ask the vast majority of Americans what they think of North Korea, Russia, Iran, or China, we largely have a negative perception. I'm not saying that their nations are perfect and good, but the reason we view them like we do is because we've been spoon-fed negative narratives about these nations while also being spoon-fed very positive narratives about the United States of America. The other part of this, to Judge Joe Brown's point, and I completely agree with this, and I would go a step further, is nothing in the United States government operates the way American people think it does. From the law, the government, the intelligence community, your local codes, all of it. So much so, and I think Judge Joe Brown could probably attest to this, there was something formed under what's called maritime admiralty law, where it uses similar words, but they have different definitions. So, for example, depending on how much you've read on this, if a police officer stops you and asks you if you're the driver or the operator of that motor vehicle, you would just say yes because you're in the driver's seat and you're steering the wheel and hitting the gas and brakes. But what they're actually asking you is if you're engaged in commerce on a on an established road. We've essentially been so miseducated about the way the government works to where we don't actually understand that we're speaking two entirely different languages from those who are informed about what's actually happening. And I'll land there. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak, Dana and Peter and Judge Joe Brown.
What you said was quite on point. I don't have any disagreement with it. You mentioned what we learned from the Soviets. We did. They learned a lot from us by studying the American motion picture industry. And the philosophy is you say anything often enough and forcibly enough, and you can get people to believe it, including the lie. Where I got this from, crash course and in depth, was the person that used to be in charge of propaganda for the NKVD, which was the predecessor to the KGB for the Soviet Union. So I got it from a master of the process. And I'm trying to convey that in a palatable fashion. So, yeah, you're right.
Thank you, Lamar. I appreciate you.
Yep. And just one last thing, Dana, if you would entertain just 10 seconds here. Another really good resource is go back and listen to the disclosures of Yuri Bezmenov. He was a former KGB propagandist who was operational in India, but defected to Canada in the 1980s. And he gave a series of interviews and lectures to G.Edward Griffin explaining how the Soviets had done this against the United States since the 1940s. Get yourself informed, and I will tell you, you will see the world differently after you understand the games that are being played against us domestically.
Okay, interestingly enough, I would direct you to a book called The Legacy of Ashes. It was published about 2003 or 4. It's a digest of 50,000 CIA documents that were declassified. It has a lot to say about the intelligence community, and a couple of instances in there I was personally familiar with. I had absolutely no idea what was behind them. So interesting.
All right.
Very interesting stuff.
Abu, is Abu still up here? Yes. Did I say it right? Your name, Abu? ABO.
Abo Mac.
Abo. Is it Abo or Abu? All right. They're not saying anything. I don't know. Maybe something's wrong with the mic. All right. So I think that's good. It's a wrap for tonight. Good discussion. Oh, 1 second.
It was a long
Thank
one.
you, Michael, for gifting a membership. And received. Okay. Shoot, received the okay. All right. That's it. I just want to say thank you to all the speakers that came up. Peter, thank you for co-hosting, and of course, Joshua Brown, thank you as well, and everybody listening on YouTube. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. And FK Simps, yeah, I had to put you on timeout for 30 minutes because I don't care if you were joking or not, trolling or not. You're not going to throw false allegations about me or anybody in the comment section or anywhere. So I had to sit you down for a little bit. But anyway, other than that, appreciate everybody. And Peter, you want to say something before the judge closes out the space?
That was a great space. Covered a lot of topics, and looking forward to doing some more. Appreciate it.
Close us out, Judge.
Okay, don't psych yourself out. Be careful what you think you believe in because it may be something that is self defeating. There is no substitute for physical bravery and courage, and if you're not willing to die for something, you can't really fight for it. Remember, I regret that I have but one life to give for my country. Give me liberty or give me death. Those are interesting aspects of American history, and because of them, some people got free. Other people weren't willing to say, give me liberty or give me death, and they had to be freed. So take that into context. The Japanese scared the hell out of America in World War II when the kamikaze voluntarily sacrificed his life to take out American naval assets in the Pacific. And you see, at one point, Japan was disrespected. The typical Japanese man or woman was made fun of and ridiculed, but after American servicemen and women started experiencing the kamikaze, all that changed. And now you have Japanese cars, Toyotas, Hondas, etc., in your driveways. And you eat sushi. And you go to Benihana's. And we do karate and judo. So you have to be powerful to be respected if you are a hunter, not a hunter, a human, because humans are essentially, first and foremost, the apex predator, the best hunters on the planet. Hunting involves killing and the controlled application of violence. And if you don't have what it takes to do that, then you're not getting much in the way of respect from your fellow humans because you're not dealing with rule one. Are you, in fact, behaving as or capable of behaving as an apex predator who can be brave, courageous, and dangerous when necessary, but peaceful when it is appropriate to be so? Now, with that, have a great week.